And welcome to the third session, the finale of our Rebel Strike trilogy, episode 3, Hunters and the Hunted. Now, since their recovery of the Alderaanian stealth technology and returning it to Alliance hands, both Cade and T7 have been sent on some much-needed shore leave. Inigo, their comrade, has been spirited off to another mission where his piloting skills are in demand. Now, Cade, missing half an arm from the previous mission, has called in an old favour from a friend of his, a Sulustan called Blatt Squamb, who has a base on Sullust, but he's also has a little sort of home away from home on the lovely temperate beach world of Spira. It's a world covered in a huge planet-spanning ocean. When the game begins, T7 and Cade have been there for 2 weeks. During the first 2 weeks, Cade has had a cybernetic arm fitted to replace the one that he lost in their previous adventures. And generally, you guys have been having a nice, relaxed time. You're on this sort of floating repulsor lift, like marine research facility that doubles as a resort. Squamb, due to his association with Cade, has managed to squeeze you guys a couple of invites and lent you the use of his private quarters. And I will put up a picture and show you what that base looks like shortly. However, as we begin, you've been there for 2 weeks. T7, you've been enjoying regular oil baths. Cade, you've been relaxing. Your cybernetic arm still feels a bit weird, but you're getting used to it. Generally, the weather has been lovely and temperate. The most stress you've had over the last 2 weeks is you've probably seen a few shoals of fish swimming just off the serene shores of this resort/research facility that you're on. Most of the people there appear to be quite well-off citizens who are enjoying the pleasures that one of the left wing has to occupy. There are numerous skimmers that are sent out, skiffs that are sent out to conduct tours, point out the sea life, most of it harmless. There is another wing of the resort, however, that has been, it's sort of access only, and that is the research wing, where they're conducting experiments on the marine life and the environment on the planet. In fact, you know, Cade, due to your contact, that some of the advances Sub have made in terms of their fighter craft and their spacecraft is actually due to testing that they've done on this planet, since they're able to test how things work in all 3 dimensions under the surface of the lakes. And that design aesthetic has impacted with their sort of space operations. So, without further ado, we pick up with our 2 heroes, Cade and T7. You're relaxing on one of the sort of landing pads, effectively. They're the only open-air structures on this resort, and I'll show you a picture of what it looks like. There you are. That is what the resort looks like. As you can see, the tower nearest to us on the picture, which has the sort of landing pad nearby, that is the resort part of it, and there's a huge sort of garden, a sort of biodome that you can see just at the back there. The far wing of the facility is the access only, reserved for the marine experimentation, etc. But they have the resort because it keeps money rolling in and it gives them the money to carry on doing their research here, etc. You've probably seen a few scientists walking around, white coats, etc. They have quarters in the other part of the base, the more sort of civilian part where they can go to relax and wind, etc. None of them have really been talking to you particularly, but there's also a lot of holiday makers there, well-to-do holiday makers. In fact, you guys probably would have stuck out quite a lot, given that you're not exactly the richest people in the universe, but you've been fitted out with some nice togs thanks to Cade Sen's contact, Squamb. He's made his resources available to you. Now, T7, you might guess, because obviously you've heard Squamb and Cade talking, that perhaps there's some sort of previous history with the 2 of them. But Squamb himself hasn't really said anything about it. You've only seen him talk to Cade via a vid screen, since he's not on the planet himself. He's on his primary base on Sullust. And in fact, one night you hear him talking to Cade, and as he's talking, he says, Well, yes, I'm sorry that I can't be there to oversee your operation and everything personally, Cade. But well, let's just say that the Empire doesn't particularly relish the presence of non-humans on Spira. But I employ mostly humans for my interest there, and I do have some private quarters, but I don't spend a lot of time there. I'm told it's very pleasant, though. I hope you'll have a pleasant stay there. How's the new arm doing, by the way?
Well, it's not quite my own arm. Interesting, though. I find I'm more dexterous with it. I can catch things, but every so often I keep forgetting it's not flesh and blood. But I can't thank you enough for your kindness in helping me get this thing sorted out. After all, a one-armed sniper is not really much of a sniper.
Well, I trust you'll keep that in mind when it comes to taking care of my things. I have taken a significant risk by allowing you access to my private quarters. Anyone who, well, let's say your behaviour will reflect on me. I'm sure I can trust your discretion whilst you're there, Cade.
Well, the only thing I want to do is sit in a nice garden and drink some of these fancy drinks that they have. Funny thing, though, to be honest, Squam, you probably wouldn't like it here anyway. Temperature's a little cold for a Celestin to enjoy themselves.
Yes, there is that. But as I say, and he lowers his voice a little as he continues, whatever it is you're into with your rebellion, the Galactic War has no place on Spira. Just keep that in mind while you're there. As long as you behave yourself, we'll have no further problems. I don't need any shit coming back to me from this cave. As I said, I owe you one. But don't forget, those cybernetic limbs aren't cheap.
I understand that completely. And don't worry. We'll make sure that everything is just how we got it when we arrived.
Good. Well, enjoy your rest and recuperation. I'm sure we'll speak soon. Swamp out. And he disappears off the vid screen. Obviously, T7, you're sort of next to Cade when this is going on.
Don't worry. With me watching you, I'll teach you how to use your cybernetics. It's a lot easier when you think about it.
Truth be told, I wouldn't mind my own arm back, T7, but I could see the advantages of having this cybernetic limb. I think our main goal now is to respect Squam's wishes and just kind of keep a nice low profile.
It's a lot easier with what was his name again? And you kind of know I'm joking. It's a lot easier when he's not around.
Come on. I tell you, he's a good man. A little bit of a hothead.
And as you two are having that little bit of banter, the screen fades out and the intro music begins. And at this point, I'm going to ask you all to introduce yourselves and introduce your characters. So we'll start with Gabe.
Hey everybody, this is Gabe B. I'll be playing T701. He is an astromech T-series. He has actually taken this time as being here to actually get a complete overhaul. This is probably the cleanest he's ever been, at least for the whole year. And he's actually quite enjoying himself. The hot baths left and right as much as he wants, rewiring of his circuitry, and a couple of implants that was actually implanted at the same time as Cade's implants were happening, kind of showing that, hey, if you can do it, I can do it, and therefore you must, So I'm here to help him out, to keep him not in check, but just to help him figure out his cybernetics and enjoy myself.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Now we come to Mike. Mike, introduce yourself and say a bit about your character.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mike. I run the channel Mike the Piper. I am playing the human sharpshooter Tyber Zann from a from the beginning of this trilogy now to its and very bittersweet end, because this has been absolutely phenomenal. And if you guys aren't subscribed to John's channel, subscribe. Don't be foolish. Do it now. It's been an amazing journey to see him, kind of build up from just a bit of a quiet, straight shooter to someone who's built a lot of great like friendships and everything else. Now that he has his cybernetic arm, so I'm looking forward to seeing the end result of this beautifully run trilogy.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, as the title music continues playing, we pan up from the serene ocean surface, the resort on Spira. We move through the haze of the lower atmosphere into the outer atmosphere and beyond it, into the blackness of space. Hurtling towards the planet at breakneck speed is a small fighter-sized craft. In it sits a man wearing custom-built armor who has been sent to this planet on a mission. His craft is badly damaged. There are some Imperial fighters behind him, although not standard issue fighters. A couple of their laser blasts have pretty much taken out most of the propulsion. There is plasma and smoke venting from one of the nacelles of this small vessel. And as we zoom in on the cockpit, we see Remo Williams, an armoured bounty hunter, wrestling with the controls. So at this point, Juve, would you please introduce yourself and say a bit about your character?
Yes, my name is Remo Williams. I'm a bounty hunter. I basically am a degenerate gambler and got into bounty hunting to, supplement my very weird habit and lots of alcohol drinking across the galaxy. Typical bounty hunter.
Okay, splendid. Now, as you sort of hurtle down towards the planet, you're struggling, Remo, to keep control of your fighter craft. You can almost hear the words of your employer as you had a conversation with him. And actually, we flash back to the conversation you had with him via vid screen, probably no more than a few weeks ago before you set out to this planet. As you flash back, you look at this vid screen in front of you, and many sort of like months before you were trapped in this smoking cockpit, you see the white-haired, stern, but sort of rugged-looking face of Tyber Zann as he looks at you on the vid screen. He says, "You understand what I'm contracting you for, then, Williams?"
Yeah, you want me to warn these guys who you owe a debt to and wipe your slate clean with them, and you're going to pay me or cover some of my miscellaneous gambling debts.
Let's just say, Mr. Williams, that if you make good on this, I'm not just hiring you to warn them, I'm hiring you to extricate them from the situation that their own foolishness has got them into. The adversary that pursues them has a personal grudge against them and has powerful friends in the Empire. But I do not like to be beholden to any men or droids.
So I guess all my gambling debts are going to be cleared up once I complete this mission, right?
Let's just say if you complete this mission, Mr. Williams, your gambling debts will be a thing of the past. I'm a man with extensive influence.
Good. I guess I'm going to be helping out some people for a change instead of hunting for them. This should be different.
Well, your reputation is formidable, Mr. Williams. I'm sure you can handle the change of pace.
Oh, yeah. This is nothing. I just don't have to worry about, shooting them on sight. I just have to shoot everyone else that comes near them. Not a big deal.
Good. I don't care how you warn them or how you extricate them from this situation, as long as it is done. And once it is done, my slate will be wiped clean, as you say, and I will wipe your slate clean of all the debts that you owe.
I like the sounds of this. Yeah, consider it done.
Good. Then I look forward to your report of success after this mission has been completed. And the vid screen winks off. We now jump back into the present as your shuttle that you're in, this fighter craft heading towards the planet Spirit, this blue jewel hanging in space, Remo Williams, jolts as you look behind you. As the fighter craft that are pursuing you have got nearer, you can actually see them on your scanners a bit more quickly, a bit more sort of clearly. Do you have any outer rim or underworld knowledge, Remo Williams?
Hold on one second. Let me see here. And what skill am I looking for?
It is either it's both knowledge skills. It's either underworld, outer rim, or you could use warfare if you have it.
Let me do this instead, because this will make things easier. I'm just going to share my screen and scroll through my character sheet. That way I can get everything situated. And it makes everything easier for everybody else. So.
Okay, yeah, so looking at those, you've got 2 green in each of those, so it doesn't really matter which one you choose to use. So the difficulty for the roll is 2, so that will be 2 green dice and 2 purple dice you're rolling.
All right. 2 green and 2 purple dice?
That's correct. Okay, not a problem. You've got a success. As these ships are closing in on you and you're sort of looking at your scanner whilst you're wrestling with the controls, as your ship's becoming rapidly more difficult to pilot, it's already taken a pounding from the lasers of these fighters that are pursuing you. You actually recognize that these aren't standard Imperial vessels. They appear to be of Mandalorian design.
Mm-hmm.
There are approximately 3 of them closing on your position. You're just on the very edge of the planet's atmosphere. Before you set off, you were given the coordinates of the sort of floating resort where your 2 targets were staying. You're sort of heading towards it. However, you don't know how long your fighter craft's going to hold together.
So the question is, does this thing have a escape pod built into it and a delayed self-destruct device?
Given that it's been provided by Tyber Zann, who is fairly wealthy, I'm willing to assume that yes, it has got an escape pod in it, and you can set it to self-destruct.
So what I'm going to do is engage autopilot with a delay of how far behind are they with? How many ships are there?
There are 3 of them.
3 of them.
They're still quite some distance to you. They're effectively at long range at the moment.
So what I'm going to do is program the autopilot to turn around and go full speed at them, and then self-destruct once it's in proximity of them, and at the same time jettons me down to the water planet.
That's not a problem. You're just using the systems for what they're meant for. You don't have to make a roll or anything like that for it. Now, as you're sort of setting like the coordinates for the escape pod quickly, are you trying to land in the ocean? Are you trying to land on the facility where you know your 2 targets to be?
I'm probably going to try to land near the on land, so I don't have to worry about swimming since this is a giant island.
Okay, you know that on the planet Spirit there's effectively like no actual land. This like resort, which I'll put the picture up again, sort of has like repulsor technology that allows it to sort of float a little bit on the surface of the water. But there are a couple of landing bays there. You can see them on the outside with the skiffs. Then
I will set for the landing bay. I find the coordinates to the nearest landing bay, and that's where I will set the escape pod to hit to.
Okay, not a problem. You set your escape pod, climb into it. There's a boom as the escape pod is launched, and as you sort of disappear through the small view hole as your escape pod heads into the orbit of the planet, you can just about make out, obscured by the atmosphere, your ship turning on autopilot and flying back towards these 3 Mandalorian craft. we now jump back down to the planet to Cade and T7, who are sort of sunning themselves on one of the landing platforms, which also serves as like a bit of a sort of observation platform. You know, people who want to hire a skiff, people who want to just sort of look out over the ocean. There's probably a couple of people like fishing rods dangling over the edge. As the two of you are sort of enjoying yourself, chilling out, relaxing, you hear this faint. And as you look up, you see like a bright flash up in the air.
Oh no!
What the hell was that?
And I'll be like, I hope that wasn't an Inigo. I know he doesn't have me to do his astrogation. Wait, he's been gone a while though. I don't think it can be him.
No, he's on another mission, T7. I don't know what that is, but let's make sure we have a blaster or two handy.
Okay, at this point, can the two of you both make me perception rolls? The difficulty is only 2. Okay, splendid. I've got mics. And there we go. Okay, T7, you're sort of busy worrying about Inigo, so you don't really spot this. However, as you're sort of scanning the skies, Cade, you see what appears to be a small object rapidly sort of getting bigger as it's descending towards the facility, towards the very landing pad that you two are stood on. And as it gets closer, you recognize that it appears to be some form of escape pod.
Oh man, someone's in trouble. T7, can you get a beat on that? And I'll actually point at the escape pod. Scan it, if you can, from here, or at least attempt to get some sort of an idea as to where that thing's going to land. Maybe we could try and see if that person needs help.
All right, and I'll turn my head to how he's doing it. The eye socket will kind of aim up a little, and as you're seeing that, you can see the crosshairs of basically this yellow grid and then this blue scan happening, and then I'll start trying making a trajectory of his falling point, where in the water, and how fast he can go swim and go get it, because water doesn't work well with me.
Okay, not a problem. Can you make me a scanning roll? I'll leave it to your discretion as to what that roll is. The difficulty is 3 due to the distance of the escape pod and the speed it's moving at.
How about I do this? If I use my intellect with the perception bonus, or the perception skill with it.
Sounds good to me.
Because it's kind of using computer, but it's more perception.
Yep, go for it.
And let's see. 2. And you want 3, you said?
That's correct. Okay, not a problem with that ridiculous amount of successes. You can tell that the escape pod, based on its current trajectory and speed, is going to land on the very sort of observation deck landing platform where you two are currently stood. You're also able to pick up that there is a single life form aboard the craft. You're getting vital signs from it. Seems to be like someone in reasonably good health.
There's someone seems to be alive in that thing, and it's coming towards the observation, and there's might be people there. You might want to let them know to get out, and somehow it's going to give destruction. We have to soften his landing. Now! Do it now!
Okay, easy there, T7. Well, if I look around, is there anything I can see that can keep the escape pod from like completely obliterating itself against the observation deck, or?
Okay, due to the time of day it is, there's not really any skiffs about at the minute. Most of them are out taking people on sort of like ocean-going tours. You don't really see anything obvious around to sort of aid an escape pod. However, most escape pods do have sort of manoeuvring thrusters, etc., to stop them just like ploughing into the ground.
I suggest T7 that we just get out of the way. Maybe let's just hide a bit, see what comes out of that escape pod. It could be anything from someone in a luxury yacht that blew up, or maybe even I mean, it's crazy, but maybe even a bounty hunter or something. We don't even know. Let's just get out of the way and hide and make sure we're okay.
As you're saying this, Cade, and yourself and T7 are sort of looking up in the direction of this escape pod, you see what appear to be like points of light, almost like shooting stars, sort of trailing across the sky, briefly flaring into light and disappearing, as though something had exploded in the upper atmosphere, and now sort of like the pieces of it are falling into the atmosphere and burning up as they do so.
All right. Well, something blew up, so let's just hide. Figure out who this is. You wouldn't have to have my my blaster pistol handy, would you? Kind of tucked away.
And let's see. Yes, I have two slots open. So yeah, I'll go ahead and pull it out, and kind of like as I'm walking, kind of sliding backwards for him to grab it. Already on my way to go hide.
Okay, you guys start making your way towards like the sort of doorway. It's not like a big airlock door like those you've experienced previously. As you can see on the picture, the two sort of like front spires are made out of a sort of transparent material. There's lots of plants and greenery in there. It's basically like the center parks of space, effectively. There's greenery everywhere. This is a very fertile planet. There's like huge, almost sort of, it looks like glass, but you know it's a good deal stronger than normal glass. There's two sort of large glass doors which lead to the interior. However, Remo Williams, your escape pod plummets down. At the very last moment, the thrusters fire on the bottom of the escape pod. It hits the deck. You feel it sort of roll end over end. You're jostled about a bit, but thanks to the sort of stabilizing thrusters on the escape pod, you're not really injured in any way. And after a few moments of like boom, 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 as it rolls over, and you can feel a solid surface beneath the escape pod, it comes to a stop. You're sort of lighting down due to the way it's landed. The doorway is just in front of you. There's like a quick release button to like pop the door off.
As that happens, smoke will be billowing out of it, and you'll see everybody from the outside will see the lid being kicked open, and then I step out of the smoke, and you see this character standing up.
Okay, you see a large armored figure sort of like kick the door open. He climbs out, sort of smoke billowing around him, some of it from some slight damage on the escape pod, some from like the atmosphere venting out from inside. You see this armored figure step out of the escape pod, smoke sort of hissing out around him as he does so.
Yep, that was exactly what I was trying to say before I got disconnected. We share the same mind.
Hiding around around like some plants in the doorway, I'd like to kind of stealth to some cover close by, and
okay. Not a problem. And at this point, I'd actually like both T7 and Cade to make me an underworld roll. The difficulty is 2. If you're likely, I'll allow you to use your own judgment on this. If you're likely to have had contact with bounty hunters, you can add a boost dice to this if you wish. Okay, Cade, you've got no idea where this armoured figure is. However, T7, sort of scanning your memory banks, you do find some mention of him. So now, Juve, I'm going to ask you to tell these guys what they might have heard about Remo Williams' reputation.
Oh, okay. So he has been in several major bounty endeavors. He's taking on as many as 10 to 15 at once. He enjoys using improvised weaponry. Likes to do sniping as well. His success rate is almost at 98 to 99%, and overall vicious, calculating, and tactical in how he handles business.
Okay, so as you scan through your databanks, T7, sort of matching his profile against various images you've got there, that is the information you get about Remo Williams. The three of you are sort of not really sort of facing off, but you're all sort of like stood facing each other. T7 and Kate are just sort of like inside the door. You can sort of see them from where you are, Remo, as you've just sort of climbed out. You've obviously seen pictures of these two guys. You know that they're the two targets that you were sent here for.
So without hesitation, I proceed to point. You two, I'm supposed to with me. I'm supposed to get you off planet alive.
And then I'll start looking at Kay's like, you'll take us on. We're gonna die.
And then I tell him I was sent by, and I give
Tyber Zann.
what was Tyber Zann to secure you to make sure y'all get off planet in one piece, or not one piece, but alive and breathing.
I'll look over at T7. What do you think? You think Tyber Zann really sent him?
He doesn't want to owe
Tyber
you a damn
Zann?
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, Tyber Zann owes me
here.
something? I know him. Oh,
Perfect.
Bossy.
Exactly. And I'll kind of walk out, but I'll slink out, mostly to make sure that, seeing as how this escape pod just crashed in the middle of an observation deck, I don't really want people just to see me just walk up and like, hey, I know this guy. What's going on? So I'll just kind of like slink up to him, and I'll just kind of, all right, look. I don't want to cause no fuss, but if you're here to get us off this planet, let's do so in a very fast and efficient manner. We're guests of a friend, and we don't want to cause any trouble with the guy, so let's hurry up.
Now, just to check, Remo Williams, have you got your weaponry out at the moment?
Yes, I do.
Okay, not a problem. As you guys are talking, you obviously moved a bit closer now. You're sure there's not going to be a gunfight erupting. What appeared to be 4 humans wearing what T7 and Cade will know as the sort of like the security force who like patrol this base come running out of the door. They obviously see you there with the armor on, Remo. Draw the obvious conclusion. They're only carrying sort of like your normal sort of blaster rifles. There's 4 of them. They immediately sort of lift their blaster rifles and they're like, "Sir, put the gun down." You can see like from the way they're like shaking slightly that they're obviously just like a domestic security force. They're not really used to like the level of shit that you're bringing. You can see the lead one's like shaking a bit. His rifle's like moving a bit. He's like, "Sir, please put the gun down."
I would like to use intimidation to basically say, if you keep pointing them guns at me, I am going to blow out all of your kneecaps.
Okay, not a problem. Can you make me I think it's probably a coercion roll. You'll find that on your skill sheet.
Coercion, that is a yellow die and a green die.
Okay, so it's only difficulty 2, so you'll be rolling a yellow and a green and 2 purple.
Alright. I have no idea what I roll.
Okay, basically you've rolled a 1 failure and 2 threats. So what happens with that is these guys are indeed scared of you, but they're far more scared of the people who are sort of paying their bills than you. And he keeps his gun on you and he's like, "Sir, we can't do that. Just put the guns down. Whatever you want, we can talk about this. No one needs to get hurt here. This is a peaceful planet. Please, just put the guns down."
So I look back at them. Do y'all have a ship or what?
Okay, listen. And I'm going to kind of address both parties, so both Remo and the security group. Look, this man just crashed in an escape pod. His ship blew up. Clearly, by looking at him, he is of the sort that might bring bad people to justice. Whatever happened up in space is what happened. So let's keep a cool head. And I'll look at Williams, or Remo specifically. Let's all just lower our weapons. We don't have to drop them, but let's just lower our weapons, and we can sort this out.
Okay, can you just to see what effect you have on the NPCs, can you please make me a negotiation roll? Cade, it's difficulty 2, however you will have 1 setback dice, because obviously it's a fully armoured guy with and you're trying to go, no look, he's not that dangerous, just put your guns down a bit, so it's a bit more difficult to persuade them.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. Okay.
Okay, so I'll have you narrate the success. Obviously, you're affecting the NPCs, and then I'll narrate the threat. So, how do they respond? You've been successful in your negotiation attempt.
The one that was doing the talking to Remo, he would kind of look at Remo, kind of look at the others, and just for a moment kind of cock his head to one side, but then begin to kind of lower their weapons just a little bit, but still doing whatever Remo is going to do.
And indeed, that's what happens. He sort of makes a gesture to the 3 people behind him, and they all sort of lower their weapons slightly. They've still got them to hand, but they're no longer pointing them directly at you, Remo.
I have my gun in the sling. You can't see it in the picture, but I would probably have this set up on a sling and just have it down to my side with my arms perched on it. Like, okay.
However, with the 2 threats that you got on your roll, Cade, you've just about persuaded these guys to lower their weapons. Everything seems to be sort of calming down a bit. The initial sort of adrenaline rush for potential conflict is fading away. When all of a sudden, from over on the other spire of the resort, the one that's furthest away in the picture you can see, there is a loud and a huge explosion ripples through the other spire. You see plates of glass blowing out, plants, people being thrown up into the air as this plume of flame and smoke erupts from it. How do you all instinctively respond?
I head for cover and take a look to see what the origin of the explosion came from.
Okay, make me a perception roll, please, Remo. So that's your perception, whatever that is, and 2 purple dice. Okay, Cade, how do you instinctively respond?
So instinctively, once the explosion hits, the first thing I'll do is I'll look at the security team that was sent there and see if they've been affected or if they're hit with any debris.
Okay.
If
one of them has been hit with a little debris, but they seem okay, just a few cuts and scrapes.
So you said 2 purple dice?
Yeah, 2 purple dice and whatever your perception skill is. Okay. So back to you, Cade. As I said, they've got a few scrapes. They sort of ducked and covered a bit when the explosion went off, and now they're sort of picking themselves up. They all appear to be okay, although they're looking around a bit dazed. All the sort of, due to the loudness of that explosion, all the sounds in the area for anyone who's biological are sort of muted a bit as the blast is still sort of echoing in your eardrums.
So what I'll probably do is I will go to the security team. I do have a small first aid kit that I like to keep handy on me. And I'll start administering first aid to some of these guards, and just try and help them out.
Okay, the security guy who seems to be in charge of them sort of sees you're obviously trying to help his like injured friend, and he's like, look, we need to report into like the station house and find out what's going on. Can I leave him here with you?
Not a problem. You do what you have to do.
He's like,
We don't.
he's like,
And
Tran,
listen.
stay down. You're injured. Stay with these people. They'll look after you.
And as he goes,
Listen, I don't know what's going on, but I'll tell you right now, it wasn't any of us. And I hope that reflects something.
He nods briefly and then he rushes off inside. Okay, T7, how do you instinctively respond? Obviously, the sound has no effect on you. You're fine and dandy.
Yeah, what I would do is speak by hearing the explosion and actually seeing it. I would have quickly did a quick, I don't know how you would call it, but it's just basically reversing, keeping my dome towards the explosion, kind of like I'm getting ready to get out of there. And then basically all the movement's happening, and I'm kind of looking, and then I'll actually scan Remo to see if he pushed anything or did anything himself to cause that explosion.
Okay, you run a quick scan over him. You don't find any evidence of like anything that he'd be able to use to set off such an explosion. He's got like no remote detonators or anything like that. So near to hand that he could have just sort of quickly gone. Doot. And obviously you guys were looking at him when the explosion went off, and he sort of ducked and covered and seemed as surprised, well, from what you can tell, as you guys were. Okay, so Remo, I'm going to jump back to you with your perception.
So I proceed to assess the situation. I'm like, I look around like, I guess that's too cute to go, and I look around for any ships that are nearby that I can basically steal to get off planet.
Okay, you don't see any sort of ships on the sort of current landing pad you're on. Like I said earlier, most of the skiffs, which are just sort of like ocean-going craft, are out. In fact, you know, as you descended, most of the sort of what you consider to be space-worthy ships were on the other platform, the one that's just exploded.
So, in other words, they just cut off any way of escape off of here, correct?
It does seem to be the case. Given your sort of tactical knowledge, you would surmise that whoever you're sort of facing has a sort of plan, and they're working sort of very strong tactics. Obviously, they're cutting off your escape first, because on this ocean world, where else are you going to go apart from this facility if they cut off the spaceships?
Is this the only building or land mass in the area that if I commandeer a skiff, could I reach another?
There are a number of these stations, very similar in construction to this one, dotted around the planet. This is the only sort of like resort one. Most of the others are like scientific. You could conceivably, if you've got a skiff, get to another one. It would take you a number of hours to get there, though they're quite sort of far apart.
Okay, and I presume the skiffs are set up to be non-submersible, correct?
Yeah, they're just surface skimmers.
Gotcha. I tell them to take cover, and I take a skimmer over to the other side to investigate to see what's going on with the explosion and try to determine its origin and how many people.
You sort of glance around. You shout for the other two to take cover. You glance around the sort of landing bay. You can see because most of the skiffs are out. You can see there's a single skiff there. It looks as though it looks a bit beaten up and a bit old. There was a technician sort of working on it, probably like refitting it. But as the explosion went off, he was like thrown back by the concussive force, and he's now starting to pick himself up, and he's like patting his ears. You can see his toolbox sort of lying on the ground where he kicked it over as he fell. But that appears to be the only skiff that's available at the moment.
Okay, so that's the only skiff available. Is there any power left in my drop pod still?
There is still some sort of backup power in the escape pod, yeah.
Okay, and is that something that I could pick up and throw in the back of the skiff?
You could definitely detach the power cell from it and chuck it in the back of the skiff. Yeah, that'd be easy done.
Okay. Do I need to roll anything?
If you're not a particularly technical person, if you just sort of yank it out, you might damage the power cell. Normally, it's a more sort of technical, sort of like mechanics operation to safely remove them. You can just go, but it might damage the power cell. It's not going to rupture and explode or anything, but it might not be at its best.
Yeah, that's fine, because my intention is if I find out what I'm dealing with, I'm going to use it as an impromptu explosive device.
Okay, not a problem. You take a couple of steps back to the escape pod, reach in, and with a pull out this small cylindrical power cell from the escape pod. Okay, T7 and Cade. The bounty hunter, Williams, has shouted for you guys to take cover. You see him walk over to he looks around, sees this skiff, walks over to the escape pod, pulls out what looks like a power cell.
Question. The security guard that I was assisting, is it safe to say that he's like relatively stabilized?
Yeah, he's stabilised. It was nothing life-threatening. One of his legs is a bit sort of sliced up by debris, but he'll be fine.
So I would probably pick him up and put him inside of that kind of garden, like arboretum kind of an area. Kind of sit him down, maybe just hand him, like give him something to maybe just kind of help him. Double check that he's okay, and then I'll probably join Remo.
Okay, as you're sort of setting him down, he takes hold of your arm and he's like, "Oh, thank you," and then he looks quite worried. He's quite pale anyway due to the loss of blood, but he sort of grabs hold of your arm and he goes, "You don't think it's the rebellion, do you?"
No, something like this reeks of. I don't want to say it, but I think it's the Empire.
He looks at you like you're mad, and he's like, "Why would the Empire blow up here? They've got scientific facilities all over this planet. We've all heard the stories about the rebellion targeting bases, blowing them up. They're terrorists."
And I put a hand on his shoulder.
Sometimes what we think is truth is in fact a fabrication. Trust me, the rebellion's not as bad as you think, in my opinion.
And then I kind of get up and walk away.
Good luck, man.
He nods at you and he sort of gives a little salute. Okay, T7, whilst Kate's having this conversation, what are you up to?
I'm going to kind of take cover. However, I am going to try to find a data console, or basically, and try to log into their communications to listen in. And then what I am listening in, I'm going to go ahead and play an audio so anybody who's near me can actually hear what is going on as well.
Okay, not a problem. Make me a computers roll, difficulty 2. This isn't a high security facility, so. Okay, I'm pretty much going to say with that, you've pretty much got access to all the systems on this place. You've just sort of, whatever pitiful firewalls and security they've got, you've just breezed through it like it wasn't even there. You've accessed their central computer core. You can tell from your initial scans that the explosions pretty much taken out the far spire and all of the ships apart from a small freighter that was sort of on the edge, like a sort of YT class freighter that was on the edge of the landing pad. That's taken some minor damage. You're also getting in reports that are coming in from various sort of guard teams throughout this base that apparently the research facility is under attack. The identity of the assailants is currently unknown. There's also reports coming in of secondary, smaller explosions that seem to have gone off at the same time that have apparently severely damaged the hover generator for the facility. It was as though someone's timed these explosions with precision to go off at the right time and in exactly the right places to fuck this place up.
And I'm not sure what to make up of that. and I'm not understanding the conversations that are going elsewhere. I'm just playing what I'm hearing, kind of like triggering from channels to get the information I want.
Okay, so Cade and Remo, you can both hear the report I've just given. T7's relaying it. Now, given your massive levels of success, is there any specific information you're looking for?
Not really specific, but I was anything. Their security, how are they handling it? For the most part, it's
okay. They seem to be very unprepared for something like this. It's just like a sort of marine biology research center. They don't do anything top secret. They don't do anything highly classified. They've got a few sort of house security patrols just to like stop like shoplifters and stuff like that. There's no real sort of like massive imperial presence on the planet, because why would anyone want to attack like a sort of marine sort of resort planet? Really, they appear to have been thrown into absolute chaos by what's going on.
And I'll kind of squeak and whirl, saying, well, at least they can't tie us to it, and we could save face.
Well,
So,
T7. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You started first.
T7, can you, if you accessed internal sensors, is there anything out of place? Anything that they can say for sure that if it's been an attack, if there's another attack, if someone's coming?
Well, they're just saying that there's marks, but it seems like it was all done at the same time. They don't know any more than we do. I think they're on their way to figure it out. Maybe we can give assistance.
As you're sort of saying this, obviously you're also receiving like the data stream from the systems, T7. You actually hear a sort of like a panicked report, and you hear the voice of someone going, "Oh, this is head biologist Samuels. But most of our equipment's been taken out by the explosion. Whoever they are, they're just walking through the facility, killing people. They seem to be looking for something. I don't know what it is. I've hidden in the main scanner room. We're picking up something big on the submarine scanners. Something really big."
And I'll be like, now playing that, and I'll be like, well, Kate, I know your answer, but Remo, are you ready to play a hero?
That's not what I got paid for. I'm supposed to get y'all off planet. I give no craps whatsoever about the rest of the people on this thing. I'm gonna go find the nearest ship that's not broken, throw y'all on it, get y'all off planet, and leave.
Look.
All right, it's gonna be hard to find us if we're gonna be being heroes. That's what I get paid to do.
Maybe if we save someone over on the other side, they could point us in the right direction to a shuttle, somewhere we can get to another system where we can get another ship. Oh, wait a minute. T7, I have an idea. If you can link into this planet's communications, systems, see if you can get Schwamban up on the communique. Let's see if he can get us maybe a shuttle or some sort of a merchant ship we can at least get up to. If that's the case, it would be a quicker way off this really pretty blue rock. In the meantime, let's go save some people. Come on, Remo. You didn't want to live forever, did you?
As I sigh accordingly, I'm not even getting paid for this extra. I claim any loot that comes from this.
Works for me. Yeah, fine. Works for me. As long as you don't like pull it off the still beating heart of an innocent person, you go ahead and take all the pretty toys you want.
I make no guarantees whether or not they're going to be still breathing, and I walk off into the building with no hesitation, with the power cell.
Okay.
I'm going to say to myself, man, what a badass. I'm going to keep walking.
Okay, no problems. Are you all heading into the building?
Yep.
Okay, as you head inside, it's very warm, almost tropical, the temperatures inside. You're surrounded by greenery on all sides. There's a luscious foliage of many different plants here. There's sort of ponds, little sort of lakes and brooks. It's a beautiful setting as you sort of move through there. This is in the spire, remember, that's not been hit by the explosion, the one that's nearest on the picture. As you're walking in, you see there's quite a lot of the sort of resort goers, just normal people, like, albeit rich people, who've been enjoying their holidays. They're all sort of stood around like looking panicked, like they don't know what's going on. There's a few of the security going, look, everything's under control. If you'll please just return to your quarters, we'll get all this tied up. One person's like, oh, I heard an explosion. What's going on? Look, calm down, sir. Calm down. Just return to your quarters. Everything will be okay. We have the situation all under control. And that's what you guys see as you're walking in.
I walk in and I survey the land. Currently, how many dead am I seeing? How many securities are down, and what have you?
There don't appear to be any sort of dead people in this big explosion took place in the other spire, the far spire of the building. You can see there's about a dozen sort of confused and scared looking like civilians in here. There's also 4 of the house security trying to calm the situation down, trying to keep everyone calm and trying to sort of lead them back to their quarters.
I walk up to the security guard like, where are the intruders at currently?
He sort of looks at you from empty. He says, I'm sorry, sir, that information is classified. I can't just go giving that information out to people. He sort of looks you up and down, suspiciously clad as you are in your armor and everything.
Okay. Do you want help, or do you want to die today?
He sort of pauses a few moments and he says, well, look, I don't know much. All I know is the explosion, a few explosions went off. Most of the space-going vessels we have been taken out. Our long-range communications has been damaged. We cut off. I had a report that there was blaster fire in the other spire, but other than that, I don't know what's going on.
And how many men?
And I'll kind of bleed out like, you have to use your niceness sensors.
The security guy doesn't seem to understand T7. He doesn't speak binary. You think, Remo, that he's basically saying, oh, you know, if you ask them a bit more nicely, they might sort of help you out a bit more.
I don't do nice. I look at the other guy. I'm like, you do the talky thing. Just tell me when you want me to shoot something. And I step back.
So at this point, I'll just basically walk up in between and look. Obviously, you can definitely tell that we're not just your average rich tourists with their own sail barge or yacht. But clearly we're people that do things that require some blaster training. Look, let us come in there. Let us help you out. You guys aren't equipped to handle this. We are.
He sighs and then he sort of looks at you and he's like, to be honest, even if I wanted to, I don't have the men here to stop you going further into the facility. My job's to get these panicked people back to their quarters and get them out of harm's way.
And I think that makes enough sense. And I'll kind of like turn around and address, I guess, like kind of into the straggling individuals around. Ladies and gentlemen, it would be highly advisable to return to your quarters while the rest of us come in and look into this problem. Please understand that this is a small hiccup in an otherwise perfect scenario of a beautiful world, and the resort world of Spira thanks you for your patience and hopes that you will continue to enjoy this fine resort planet as it has to offer. But for now, please, if you could return to your quarters, and I'm sure one of the lovely resort staff will be up to each one of your rooms to give you whatever you would like, refreshments and or other things that you require.
Make me a deception roll. The difficulty is 2, however, you do have a setback dice because the people in there are quite panicked. They've just heard a big explosion go off. And you're like, yeah, it's all under control, don't worry about it. So,
And if I can give him a boost die by
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
Hold on. I was gonna simulate 100 people clapping after his little speech.
okay, as you finish your little speech, you're like the sound of like people sort of clapping in a stadium, and the people do seem persuaded, and they're like, well, I suppose yeah, we should return to our rooms. The security guy looks at you and he's like, without speaking, he just like mouths like, thank you. And then he's like, yes, you heard the gentleman, follow us, and they start like escorting all these people off and hustling them off to their quarters. Just as they disappear out of sight, there is a crackling from the sort of like the communication, like the tannoy announcement system built into the walls of this resort, and you hear a voice say, Tyber Zann, if you value the lives of the people on this resort, which I assure you do not, then you will come to the secondary landing pad. Follow the sound of the receding explosion. If you do not make yourself known to us, the people on this resort will suffer the consequences.
Well, now, don't I feel special? Someone's willing to destroy an entire planet's worth of population just for little old me. T7, let's go meet our guest. What do you say, Remo? You want to take someone out? Well, clearly this individual wants to kill me, and you might not get paid if that's the case. So, I think our needs align for now. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go grab an old friend, and we're gonna meet him up on the deck.
So just for general knowledge, the deck is on the ground, correct?
Sorry, you faded out again. What was your question?
I was confirming. The question is, if he's going to be on the deck, is there an upper level that I could observe for setting up a sniper's perch?
Normally, you would have been able to observe from the sort of tower that's sort of like at the far end of the picture you can see on my screen, but that is what was blown up previously. They're asking you to meet at the sort of landing pad at the bottom of it.
Okay. Let me do this real quick. This will make everything easier. Like right here. Okay. Gone in the. So, looking at the map, I was wondering the window areas that are up here.
That's correct.
Is there a way for me to be able to set up a sniping perch in one of these areas, and then snipe the guys from below when they go meet up with them?
Right. Well, they're actually suggesting that you meet on the sort of far sort of spire, the one that's like behind that in the distance, which no longer has a large building on it. In fact, it's probably easier if I bring up a picture of this and show you guys. So just give me a moment and I shall do for that. Okay, so zoom in on that. Okay, so I'll screen share this picture with you guys. Okay, can you all see that picture?
Yes.
Okay, splendid. So what's happened when the explosion went off, it effectively blew up this bit here.
Mm-hmm.
They are asking you to meet here, sort of on the other landing pad. You could effectively, if you wished, Remo, sort of set up to snipe from here and sort of shoot across at them.
That is what. Yes, continue.
It would take you some time to get up there because obviously you'd have to climb like a lot of flights of stairs, etc. You can certainly do it though. It just take you a little bit of time to get there.
I look at my other compatriots, and when he gets back, because he had to step away for a second. But what I'm thinking is handing him the power cell and tell him when they tell you to relinquish whatever weapons you have, you roll that to them, and then I take a sniper shot at that and cause it to explode, taking them out in the process.
Okay, not a problem. So, if you're there, Cade, Remo has handed you this power cell. He's suggesting that he's going to head up into the tower, sort of like here. When you travel there and they ask you to hand over the weapons, he's suggesting you roll this power cell over towards them. He will then shoot that, which will explode it effectively.
All right. Let's give this a shot. Sounds good to me.
And I would like to go into my go into the quarters that Schwamb had very nicely put together for us.
Not a problem.
And I'm going to grab my own sniper rifle, my own heavy blaster rifle. Kind of get it, check it really quick. I mean, it's obviously in really good shape. And I'll have it again, kind of like at my side, and I'll just take off towards the
Okay.
area.
Picking up your gear will take you a little bit of time. Obviously, you can go and grab it, but you will have to go to your quarters, pick it up, etc. So it will take a little bit of time. But is that what you want to do?
Yeah, I kind of need my rifle, which is a kind of an unfortunate thing, but I will need it to function.
Okay, not a problem. So T7, Cade's running off to his quarters to pick his shit up. Remo is making his way up these several long winding flights of stairs into the tower to take up a sniper shot. What are you up to?
As they were working, I was going to be running my memory banks of the voice and kind of like identify who it belonged to. And then once I did, I'm going to do the hologram picture of the person that is actually doing it, if it's someone I did remember or know.
Okay, make me an underworld roll. I'll give you the difficulty is 3. I'll give you a boost dice though, because you can add these sort of systems on the planet to boost your attempt.
Alrighty, so I have 3 and 1. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade. So it's going to go 2, and then 2, and then you want 3, and then quickly looking at, yes, it is an automatic whatchamacallit, advantage. So here we go.
Okay, not a problem. You pull up the following picture in your memory banks. There's not a lot of information on the person who is known as Zann Zatar. You know he is a person of Mandalorian origin. He's believed to be in the employ of the Empire.
All right, and as they're about to leave, I'll pop up this hologram, basically, and then start spinning the hologram so you can kind of get a full 360 look at them.
Okay, not a problem.
And then I'll say, I don't recognize him. I just know the voice. And
okay, Cade and Remo, as you're sort of getting ready to run off, you hear that from T7. He shows you this hologram of the figure you can see on my screen.
Well, looks like you have a chance to get some nice, pretty new armor, a pretty new blaster, Remo. What do you think to that?
Yes, interesting. And I asked the Splicer, do you know whether or not he has any open bounties on him at the moment?
information of that data bank is not in my systems. I am not a bounty droid.
You would know, however, T7, that if anything, it's the opposite. He's actually collected several bounties and is effectively an imperially sanctioned bounty hunter himself.
Okay, then I'll repeat that.
Wonderful.
So,
What did you guys do?
what's so wonderful about that? That's a bad thing.
I was like, I should have asked for more money.
Okay, so Remo says, what did you guys do?
Well, I could go as far back as 7 years from now and play everything that we did. We did a lot if you have the time, but I don't think we do.
Look, I'm not sure what exactly it is. I mean, we've been on a few hairy missions, but I mean, there was that one. It couldn't have been that one. No one really figured out who that was. Or well, there was this one time with a prison ship, but I mean, that's nothing big.
Okay. Just go with the plan. I'll kill the guy, strip the armor. I'll be good.
Okay, so Remo, you dash into the spire. There's, like I say, lots of sort of like a spiral staircase heading up it. You're obviously like running up those stairs as quickly as you can, but as I said, it's going to take you a little bit of time to get there. Cade, you head back to your quarters to grab your shit effectively. Are you following one or both of them? Are you following one of them, T7, or are you staying here? What are you doing?
Oh, I'm following Cade.
Okay. Not a problem.
I don't know this Remo, and he wants to go somewhere weird where it's going to, for my computer, it's going to be like, he's going to shoot, he's going to grab gear, but how is he going to grab it if he's on the opposite end? I'm like, But
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to be following Cade.
T7 and K, you make your way as quickly as you can back to your quarters. As you're picking up your stuff and you're sort of heading out of the door, ready to go to the other landing bay, you again hear this crawl voice on the tannoy system say, I see that you need a little encouragement to meet us on the landing pad, Cade said. Then you hear his voice slightly quieter as though he's talking to someone in the background. He says, release the neuroparalytic agent into the civilian quarters. And you're in the background saying, yes, sir.
T7, slice into the comms. Let's see if we can talk to this guy face to face.
Okay,
All right,
if you
I'll
wish
do just
to
that.
do that, T7, you've got access to the computers. I'm not going to make you make another roll, given the ridiculous amount of successes you got earlier. You can easily establish like a two-way communication.
And I'll play a blank hologram, so Cade can do whatever he wants to inside that lighting.
Okay, like a little like sort of circle of blue appears, and T7 basically tells you like step into that circle and say what you want to say, and they'll hear you.
All right, and I do that. Listen, let's not get civilians involved. I'm on my way. You kind of caught me in a bad spot, and I'm trying to run as fast as I can. Okay, literally, I have to stop, and I have to tell you to not have throw these poor people involved. So look, I'm on my way. I'll be there in as fast as I possibly can, but I'm definitely making my way over there. So we don't need.
I'm afraid to tell you, Mr. Sen, that you're about 10 seconds too late to prevent the release of the neuroparalytic gas. I do not suffer subordinates who do not obey my orders instantly.
Look, I'm obviously going to go there. You're obviously going to either shoot me or take me back to who knows where. It's going to happen. Don't need to get civilians involved. Unless you're a coward. And you need gas to do your work for you.
If it weren't in my orders that you should not be killed, I would make you regret those words, Cade said. But I am a soldier. I follow my orders.
I see, and your orders are to gas a whole bunch of non-combatants.
My orders are to achieve my goal by any means necessary.
And I get that, and clearly I'm going to be heading to you if you'll just not release the damn gas. I'm heading to you right now. So if I can get your assurances that you're not going to gas these people, I will head to you and you can do what you do best, which I assume, being Imperial, you're probably very good at what you do.
I may work for the Empire, but I am not no Imperial. You have 5 standard minutes. And then he cuts communication.
Okay, and I will run as fast as I possibly can to that location.
Okay, not a problem. You run across to the other sort of bay. So if I bring up the picture again, you effectively run across to where the black arrow is on the picture. You can, as you get there, it's a scene of absolute destruction. There's parts of the spire, which is covered in the red scribble on the picture, lying around from where this huge explosion has literally tore it apart. As you head out, you can see that all of the like sort of 3 or so vessels that were on the landing pad appear to have been scrapped, with the exception of one battered old YT class freighter that is sat on the landing bay. As you head out onto the landing bay, presumably with T7 with you, you're just about getting into position, Remo, as this happens. It's taken them some time to get across there. You can see this going on through your sniper sight. However, as you run out onto the landing bay, Cade, you don't actually see any people in armor standing about on the landing bay.
I feel like how I would approach this would be something to the effect of, like, I would go there, but I would not just like simply walk. Like, I would definitely like kind of move quickly, but try and move as stealthily as I can, going from kind of area to area, cover to cover, before making my way onto the actual landing pad itself. And even then, if there's something I can hide behind, I would definitely kind of like plant my back against it.
Okay, not a problem. As you're on the landing bay, like I say, you don't see any sort of people stood about. However, a few moments later, there is like a sound, and you see what appeared to be 5 people wearing armor similar to the picture that I've shown you of Zanzitar, all of them wearing what appeared to be some form of jetpacks. They descend out of the air, all of them holding blaster rifles, and touch down with precision on the landing bay, just in front of where this old battered freighter is standing.
So, again, undercover, or being in cover, I would probably yell out,
That's a really nice trick, boys. You guys ever think about doing some fancy acrobatics, entertaining the kids? Maybe doing things for tourists? Because the jetpack thing, that's pretty swell.
As you're saying that, one of the armored figures steps forward. He holds something up in his hand, holding it out so you can see it, and you see that it is a thermal detonator. And in a sort of slightly clipped voice, he says, "Step out onto the landing pad, or I will roll this into your position and detonate it." And he sort of stood there holding it up in his hand.
Good point.
and I'll grab the pulse, not the pulse, excuse me, the why am I having a brain fart?
The power cell.
Thank you. I'll grab the power cell and I'll actually just roll it towards them, and if I have the ability to communicate with Remo, which I'm pretty sure that we can.
I'm assuming you've all got comms, so you can communicate.
Yeah.
With them. That's fine.
I'll like basically click into Remo and say,
All right, Remo, here it comes. Take the shot.
and I just roll the power cell towards them.
Okay, there's a ding, 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 as this power cell rolls out towards this sort of armoured figure who's stepped away from the rest of them. You notice the others sort of draw back and sort of take a few steps back as this power cell rolls out and lands at the feet of this armoured figure standing at the front holding the thermal detonator. Remo, you hear Cade on the comms say, take the shot.
Okay, so I have a range heavy weapon, which will go with my blaster. Do I also use gunnery as well as part of my dice roll?
No, you just use the ranged heavy.
Range heavy, so that's yellow.
It will be difficulty 3, so 3 purple dice, because obviously you're trying to hit a very small power cell at long range. Okay, not a problem. As you say, take the shot, Cade, there is like a poof, and you see a brief flash up on the tower, the other tower sort of distant from you. This blaster bolt hits the power cell. There's a as it explodes, throwing the armoured figure who was standing near it several feet into the air. He lands quite heavily with a thump on the deck and lies still. The remaining 4 armoured figures sort of still holding their guns up, but they don't move or alter their position.
I'll call out to the other 4. Anybody else want to give me an ultimatum?
One of them reaches in his pocket, he takes out something that looks like a small piece of metal with like a button on top of it, and he just goes, "Doot."
Okay.
Ah, shit.
A few moments pass.
Yeah.
Nothing appears to have happened. There's a tense silence. Then T7, since you're still sort of wired into the system, you start receiving reports that all of the actual sort of civilian quarters appear to have been locked down, and they're picking up a toxic substance inside them.
All right. So you have to connect to the system. Connect with. I don't know, the air conditioning system of some sort, the air ventilation or something like that.
Try and like ventilate it out of the rooms. You will have to make another computer's roll for this. There's plenty of terminals about for you to connect to. That's not a problem.
Okay. And what I'm gonna do is once I connect, so it's gonna be.
Okay, it's a difficulty 3 roll, and there is 1 setback dice, since these people have sort of set up their own like security to prevent someone doing this.
Okay, so it's bypass security. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then bypass security will go ahead, and I'll actually just use my digital lock for that system. So I'm using internal. And so that's 3.
Okay, so you've failed to sort of ventilate the air of the sort of civilian quarters. The gas is still flooding in, reaching like dangerous levels. However, since you have got a triumph, I'm going to sort of turn the narrative over to you now. Now, you can't sort of ventilate the areas or get the gas out of the quarters. However, if via your interfacing with the systems you can do something advantageous or that would give you a boost, feel free to narrate how that goes on.
All right. So I'm not sure quite what you said before. You were breaking up, but you said something about possibly not getting into that system.
You can't get the gas out of the quarters because obviously you failed the roll. However, you have got a triumph. So if you can use your access to the system to give you some advantage or to cause an effect that would benefit you guys, I'm quite happy to turn the narration over to you briefly for that, since you did roll a triumph.
Ooh.
I'm also going to say, whilst you think about that, is since you're in the systems, you're picking up that there is a sort of internal alarm going off on the system, as the sort of sensors they've got to sort of like scan underwater and pick up marine life and do their sort of sensory information for their experiments is picking up a large mass, and we're talking sort of like freighter sized under the water, moving very quickly towards the facility.
Crack. I wouldn't even know how to do this.
Are we as can I make a suggestion?
Please.
You could direct everyone out of the rooms accordingly, and then shut down the rooms down to contain the gas so they can't spread any further, and basically shut down each section accordingly.
That's quite true. That's absolutely true. Although you can't stop the gas going into the rooms, you could perhaps override the doors, let the people out, and then not lock them afterwards to like keep the gas contained at least.
Okay, that was what I was originally thinking, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be part of that whole I can't access the system. But yeah, I mean, if that's possible, I would have opened up the door so people can actually leave and get out of there.
Yeah, not
wherever
a problem.
They're at.
You pop open all the civilian quarter doors, a mass of panicking people, a lot of them like coughing and spluttering, run out. You're picking them up on the internal sensors. You slam the door shut afterwards. There have been a dozen casualties already, people who are maybe a bit sort of infirm or a bit elderly, more susceptible to the gas, who don't make it out of the quarters, but the vast majority of people are out and the doors are sealed. Where you're stood from your vantage point, Remo, as you sort of you're sort of surveying the scene through your scope, you can see what appears to be a large ripple on the previously placid surface of this huge world-spanning ocean. The ripple appears to be moving closer to the facility, towards the landing bay that Cade and these armoured figures are stood on. And as you sort of zoom in with your sort of sniper scope, you can see a large, dark mass under the water. And like I said, we're talking sort of like YT 1300 size. But it's just like a big, dark shape under the water rushing towards this facility.
We got a situation here. We got a very large amphibious object coming towards the ship. Towards this area. My recommendation is we kill all these guys fairly quickly and get the hell out of here.
All right, well, let's not talk about it and let's do it.
And I take set myself to shoot the guy in the head that set off the detonator.
Okay, not a problem. So at the distance you're at, it's going to be a difficulty 3 roll, so that's 3 purple. It'll be your ranged heavy again.
All right. So.
Okay.
1 failure.
You snap off a shot, however, sort of distracted by having to contact them and by this huge mass rushing towards. Your shot actually drills into the ground near one of these armoured figures. One of them appears from his sort of stance. You see Cade, this guy who appears to be in command. He's like, "Sniper, deal with him." At which point, 2 of the figures jump up into the air, and you hear this, and they start moving towards the other tower using these jetpacks.
All right, I would like to pop up and fire at the apparent leader, or at least what I would appear to be the leader, I guess, the one in the most ornate armor.
Okay, not a problem. You can see that one of them has like a sort of triangular sort of motif on his helmet, which you might assume to be rank, although you're not familiar with the system. He seems to be the one giving the commands, so you can certainly take a shot at him. It'll only be difficulty 2 for you, given the distance you're at. However, since he has the adversary trait, that will be upgraded twice. So that will actually be 2 red, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Just double check on the craziness of my roll. So I need 2, 4, 1, and 2 of this. So that okay. So it's just 2 red, or was it 2 red and a purple?
It's
No,
just it's 2 red and a purple.
Oh, and a purple. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, as you're taking this shot, Cade, you feel a sort of odd feeling. Like sort of like phantom limb syndrome. You feel like an odd sort of like cold feeling in the end of like where your natural arm ends and your cybernetics begin. Not so much that it interferes with your shot, just enough to be disconcerting.
Gonna regret that later. Okay.
Okay, what is the damage of your weapon?
Well, so this it's the damage of my first shot would be 16. Okay. However, I can use 3 of the advantage to activate a critical shot.
Okay, not a problem. So can you? I have the chart up in front of me. Can you roll me a D100?
Okay. Also, not to be that guy, but with my talent of lethal blows, it'll add 20 to whatever I roll.
Okay, roll your dice at 20 and tell me what the final result is.
So it would be 95%. Or 95.
Okay, not a problem. You basically hit this guy dead on. It's like a bullseye shot. He's bowled over backwards. You can see him sort of painfully trying to sort of like pull himself up. You can see this like huge burnt spot on his armor, and he lets out that as he's trying to pick himself up. He really looks like he's using a phenomenal amount of will just to move himself. Okay, so that's Cade's go. Remo's taking his shot. T7, what do you do?
All right, so the platform, what kind of material is it?
It appears to be made out of some sort of metallic alloy.
Metallic alloy, okay. I'm going to access the panel as I'm in here and see if I can find a gravity lockdown of some sort.
Okay, for the purposes of?
To lock down anybody who's in metal armor. To kind of using his armor against him.
Okay, not a problem. Make me a computer's check, difficulty 2.
Okay. Okay, there we go.
Okay, not a problem. You make that anyone who is wearing armor composed mainly of metal on this area will now receive a setback dice. Obviously, that goes for yourself as well, Cade, if you're wearing sort of metal armor or carrying a lot of metal.
Yeah, that's it.
And
not sure what I don't believe my armor is made out of metal. It's just like a light.
Yours? No, yours was leather.
Yeah.
But it's using kind of like, so he can't just blast off either, like the other ones were able to do.
Okay, yeah, so you can see the two have already blasted off and like disappearing into distance towards the tower.
They've already blasted off, but
you notice the one who's still standing on the landing bay because the other's lying on the ground, which has been shot in the chest by Cade. You notice him sort of struggling to like move his feet a bit. You think their armor must not be composed primarily of metal, probably some sort of ceramic or something similar, but they are holding metal equipment, etc., so it is slowing them down significantly. Okay, so we're going to come to him. The guy lying on the ground can't really take any action aside from trying to pick himself up. However, the other one is going to take a shot at you, Cade. He will have a setback dice due to the actions of T7. So, here we go. Okay, so he has hit you with a heavy blaster rifle. That is 11 points of damage minus whatever armor you have taken. As he sees you take down his commander, he literally sort of pulls his foot up, steps forward, and goes, poof, 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 and fires his blaster rifle at you. His heavy blaster rifle.
Ow.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you to please roll me a D100, Cabe.
Okay.
Okay, the shot hits you square in the chest. You feel pain lance through you. Until the end of this encounter, all of your actions are increased by one purple dice. As for a moment your vision goes red as this guy with like pinpoint precision, sort of like it's only due to the fact you've turned at the last minute that he didn't hit one of your vital organs. This guy's obviously got some serious training in like, how to use his weapon.
Damn.
Okay, Remo, you've obviously seen this going on through your sniper scope. You can also see that this large mass is sort of getting closer to the base. What do you do, Remo?
Okay, so I'm in the room. What's all in the room currently?
Okay, in the room that you're in, it's basically like a sort of an office. There's a desk in here. There's a sort of personal computer system. There's the Star Wars equivalent of like filing cabinets. There's what look like numerous data pads with various agricultural, ecological reports sort of spread on a desk. Standard sort of office stuff.
Okay, it's simple. I leave out the room. I get on comm and say, as soon as I leave the room, lock down this door, and then I proceed to head over to the holopad and tell them to lock all the doors behind me as I go to that area, basically sealing them off.
Not a problem. So T7, you hear Remo say, as soon as I'm out of this room, lock down the doors behind me. And he starts walking out of the room. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do, T7, is make me a computers roll. Difficulty will be 3, since basically just see whether you manage to lock them down before these guys with jetpacks that are moving very quickly get to the room.
All right, so I'm not doing that. Here we go. Okay. So I'm trying to identify the rooms that he's in.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is you've not managed to lock them down quickly enough to stop these people getting to him. However, since you're sending like reports on where they're going to Remo via the comms system, effectively you can give him like boosts to his dice roll. Because you're sort of like tracking their movements, and you're like, I'll take the next left, go straight ahead, etc., etc.
Yep. With those 4 advantage, he'll have 2 boost die because I'm signaling. I'm doing actions towards him, so I can't really just give it to someone either. So I'm gonna give him the 2 boost die for whatever actions he is to get out of there, flee.
Okay, not a problem. Now we move to the Mandalorians taking their role. There is a loud crash behind you of sort of shattering glass. Remo is just sort of in the doorway. You see these 2 figures sort of almost land in like a roll and come straight up with their 2 blaster rifles, and they start firing almost as soon as they land. Both of them firing at you as the door starts to like hiss shut. So I'll make their attack rolls. Okay, the first one, luckily because the doors are already shutting, misses you and hits the door, causing you no damage whatsoever. The second one also takes a shot. However, this one manages to hit you. You take 7 points of damage, Remo, minus whatever your armor is. As this blaster shot hits you in the hip.
7. Where will I find my? So I see that I have light armor. So how much does the light armor absorb?
Okay, in your primary page, page 1, you'll see your wound, strain, and then soak.
Okay, soak. So I have 5 soak. So I take 2 points of damage.
That's correct. Like I say, you take a blast, but it just catches you on the edge of your hip, causing you some pain, but no significant distress. As you sort of make it out the door and they hiss shut behind you, you hear the sounds of the armoured figures with jetpacks running to the other side of the door, probably trying to get it open or something. But for the moment, you are safe from them. However, we now pan across to where this other remaining standing armoured figure is taking another shot at Cade. Okay, luckily for you, Cade, struggling as he is with the effect of the sort of magnetism / increased gravity that T7 has managed to bring up on this landing pad, he sort of lifts his weapon up, but it seems to be like a lot heavier than he's used to. His shot goes wild, hitting the wall just to the left of your head.
I'd probably breathe a huge sigh of relief on that one. And then I think if my memory serves me correctly, now it's on me.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and I'll actually use I'll use another one of my talents, True Aim. The True Aim, so it's treated as actually I'll just read it right out. Once per round, before the character makes a range attack, he may perform a True Aim maneuver. By performing this maneuver, the character gains all the benefits for aiming and also upgrades his attack roll once per rank of True Aim. I have 2 ranks in True Aim, so I'll upgrade it twice.
Yep.
So would I just add another? Shut up, Gabe. But yeah, you're right. So instead of rolling 4 yellow and 1 green, I would roll
5 yellow and 1 green.
Okay. So I'm glad that I got that one kind of sorted out. Excellent.
And you will also get a boost dice because you get the benefits of aiming.
Okay, and the difficulty is 2 red still, or?
The difficulty against this one, because it's not the commander, will be 3 purple.
Okay. Big money, no whammies.
Okay, what's your damage?
So the damage is going to be 11. 11, so 12, 13, 14. So in total, the damage here is 14 points of damage as it just slam into the sun.
Not a problem. Feel free to narrate how you spectacularly take out this armoured figure as his commander sort of climbing to his feet behind him.
So as he kind of fires at me, and the blaster just kind of just grazes past. I look at him and smile and kind of cock my head, just kind of raise it up and fire, and you can just see, this the armored head just now suddenly has a round black hole as opposed to a triangle, as it just leaves this smoking kind of crater. He just his blaster just drops to his side, and in one of those perfect pendulum motions, just completely falls backwards onto his jetpack. The jetpack actually kicks off, and he goes flying off, right off the observation deck into the water.
Indeed, you see his corpse skim off the surface of the water before it disappears below. Well, as it disappears below the water, you see an odd sort of bubbling and sort of turbulence in the water as it disappears, and you become aware for the first time of this large, dark shape lurking just below the water. Then you hear as a pale-skinned looking woman, who you recognize having seen her previously on the prison ship, walks down the exit ramp of the YT freighter wearing a black robe. You can just about make out yellow eyes underneath the robe. She appears to be clapping slowly as she walks down the ramp.
I remember her. I remember her.
You notice.
Why didn't we kill her again?
You notice as she walks down the ramp that one of her hands is actually cybernetic. You can see the metal of it. And you briefly recall your shot where you shot a disruptor pistol out of her hand on the prison vessel in what seems almost like a lifetime ago. You can hear the sort of slight whirring as her hand moves as she claps them together slowly and stands at the bottom of the gangplank. She looks at you and slowly, in a malice-dripping voice, says, "It's not enough for me simply to kill you here, Cade. You will suffer for your defiance of the Empire." And she holds her robotic hand up. "And for what you have done to me."
Now, hang on, it's not like it made you any uglier. And if anything, that hand's got to be working pretty decently. I mean, I like what you've done to your outfit.
She lets out a cruel, mocking laugh and slowly closes the metallic fingers of her hand. And as she does so, what appears to be a huge, squid-like tentacle bursts out of the water. It wraps around the YT-class freighter, lifting it into the air, and then crushes it like a child crumpling a tin can. And the freighter is dragged underneath the water. There is a bubbling and a thrashing underneath the water, and then it goes still again.
Yeah, pretty much. Man.
She looks at the last remaining member of the Mandalorians, the sort of sergeant who's like picking himself up to his feet, and she says, "You have fulfilled your part of the bargain, Zanzitar. You may leave now." At which point he nods, activates his jetpack. He struggles for a little with the increased gravity, but you watch as he takes off and he sort of disappears, heading away from the station. She looks back at you and says, "We have unfinished business, you and I, Cade."
Look, if you wanted to go out for dinner sometime, that's fine. You didn't have to go through all this trouble just for me. But I still retain the fact that T7's coming with us, because I just don't trust you.
She holds out her hand, and for a few moments what looks like a small cylindrical object leaps from her belt into her hand. She raises up her second gloved hand, twists it, and you see what appears to be a crackling energy blade of an unhealthy, leprous green colour bursts out of it. It hisses and crackles, and as she moves it through the air, unlike the normal you hear from a standard lightsaber, as it moves through the air, you hear a sound that almost sounds like someone screaming.
Pretty. Well, I guess we're gonna do this. And I grab just tighten my heavy blaster rifle, and I just aim it at her, and I'm just waiting.
As you say that, she laughs and leaps backwards towards the open water, somersaulting through the air, and then she lands. It seems like she's standing on the surface of the water. Then from around her, 4 of these giant tentacles erupt from the water, each of these tentacles being easily capable of wrapping around sort of like a YT sized freighter. You can see these huge like suckers and barbs on the other side of them. She laughs cruelly as she stands there, seemingly on the surface of the water, and then says, "Your precious facility is already sinking. The repulsor lifts have been sabotaged by my men. All I have to do is stand here and watch you slowly die." And as she says that, one of these tentacles sort of flails down towards your position. This huge sort of, like say, YT freighter-sized tentacle sort of flops down towards you. You can smell this horrible, briny, sort of decaying smell off it as it whizzes through the air, seemingly unconnected, unaffected by the gravity that T7's installed on this area. What do, Cade? This huge tentacle is like coming down towards you.
Well, I guess I'll shoot it.
Okay.
I will definitely shoot it.
Not a problem. Make your shooting a roll. It's only difficulty 2.
Now, actually, I do have a question, because I remember because of my critical injury, the setback die I'm supposed to include until the end of the combat round. Is this now a new combat?
It's until the end of the encounter rather than the end of the combat round. So this is still the same, and you don't get an extra setback dice. You get an extra purple dice to any task.
Okay. Oh, okay. My apologies. Then, so then it'll be a. Is it still a difficulty of 2 then, or would it be a difficulty of 3 now? 3. Okay, you got it.
Okay, what's your damage?
So that'll be that would be 12.
Okay, you fire your blaster at this thing. You blow off a few small chunks of it. However, this huge tentacle doesn't seem really impeded at all by the loss of a significant amount of its biological tissue, and it continues its downward spiral towards you. So I'll make a roll for the tentacle. Okay, you are hit for 10 points of wound, so 11 points of wound damage, minus whatever your soak is, as this thing sort of sweeps across the deck and slams into you.
Sorry, how many points of damage?
11 minus whatever your soak is.
Okay.
Luckily for you, it appears that only like the tip of this thing has sort of caught you. You think if like the mainstay of the tentacle had hit you, it would have done significantly more damage. As it is, you're sort of thrown several feet into the air off your feet. And in fact, can you make me an athletics roll? Difficulty would normally be 2, but it's 3 for yourself. Just see if you manage to stay on the platform. Okay, you slide and skid, and you literally stop like a couple of inches from the end of the platform. The tentacle slams into this sort of landing area, literally like splitting it in half and like folding the 2 halves up like that. You slowly start sliding down towards the water. Okay, Remo, you've seen all of this going on. This huge sea creature just like launching them across the deck with its tentacle, and then it's like shattered the deck in 2 with its tentacle. What are you doing, Remo? Are you there, Remo? Okay, we'll jump onto T7. Oh, sorry, are you there, Remo?
Yeah. I had 2 mutes on, making sure I didn't have cross interference. So I was wondering, is the 2 other bounty hunters, they're still after me, or have they left now?
They're still inside the building. You can hear them sort of like hammering on the other side of the door, trying to force it open. But T7's got it on a lockdown.
Okay. I did deal with them. Can I get to another window and set up another sniping shot and make a headshot for this chick's head.
Yep, not a problem.
And
You
use
certainly do that.
and use a white chip, I think it's called, to fluff up my damage, to fluff up my probability of success.
Not a problem. I've ticked that for you. Okay, so what that does is that will upgrade one of your green dice that you would normally be rolling for your shot to a yellow dice.
Okay, so it'd be 1 green, 2 yellow.
Okay, the difficulty is 3. So 3 purple.
Okay. And 3 purple. Alright, let's see how this goes. And I guess that's another failure.
Okay, Cade, as you're sort of sliding down this bisected landing ramp, you hear a poof, and you see a blaster shot aimed at the head, like a sniper precision shot, and you know your sniper shots, aimed directly at the head of this mocking female figure still standing on the water. Like literally a millisecond before it's due to hit her, you see her swing up this spitting leprous green lightsaber and deflect the shot. It goes and hits the water to one side of her. From where you're standing, Remo, looking through your sniper scope, you can see that she's not actually standing on the water. She appears to be standing on like the body of whatever this tentacled creature is that's sort of lurking a few inches below the waterline.
Gotcha.
Okay, T7.
So I'm like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to suggest to T7, since I still have them bad guys behind me, if he can cut the environmentals off and suffocate them in the room they're currently in.
Don't forget, there is an open window to the outside that they smashed through, so...
Okay, I didn't know they were in a hallway or not, because I was running away from them.
No, they're still trapped in the initial room that you were in. They sort of smashed through the window, and then T7 shut the door. So you've gone into the corridor, and they're stuck in the room. You can just about hear the sort of dull thumping sounds as they're trying to sort of like open the door.
Gotcha. Okay, then I will wait till my next turn.
Okay, T7. What are you doing?
All right, so I'm going to maneuver a little bit closer, lock myself down 100%, and then with my slingshot, not my slingshot, my my magnetic sling that I have, I want to actually grab Cade from him from falling off.
That's
not
not
I see him just sliding.
I'm quite happy to say you can do that without a roll. So as you're sort of sliding down this cut in half landing pad, Cade, T7 sort of zooms forward and grabs you and stops you from falling any further. Obviously, you're magnetized to the floor, T7, so it's no thing to you, being at an odd angle. However, as you're doing that, there is an ominous creaking sound from the facility, and it sort of dips down a little bit.
I'd like to try and stand up and kind of like run. Like kind of run into like some kind of a very heavy cover. And if I have, like, I'm not sure how many stim packs I used to help this guard out or how many he needed.
Just one.
Okay, then I would definitely like to use a stim pack on myself, like ASAP.
Not a problem. You and T7 start heading back towards like the doors that lead to the interior of this base. You stab one of these stim packs into yourself, and you feel the heady rush of the stimulants and the wound salving agents inside it flood through you. You regain 5 wounds. As you run, you hear the mocking female voice behind you saying, "Your facility is already sinking. I suggest whatever gods or deities you follow, you make your peace with them now, Cade."
Can I still see her? And yeah, I want to take a shot at her.
Okay, not a problem. Go for it. Don't forget you have an extra purple dice of difficulty. and since she has the adversary quality, it'll be upgraded. So normally you would be on 2 red and 1 purple, so you will have 2 red and 2 purple.
All right. One thing though, I'm just going to check really quickly.
No problems.
So I wouldn't mind using another talent, but I just want to make sure that I. Okay. Nope, that doesn't do anything. Yeah, I'll just make a straight up shot then. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, so instead of 3 purple, it'll be.
It's 2 red and 2 purple for yourself.
Okay, and then 2.
Okay, not a problem. What is your damage?
So the damage is 16, 17, 18. And unfortunately, I wish I had stated that I was going to use auto fire, because that would have been great.
Okay, not a problem. You hit her with your shot. You see she is wearing some sort of armor under the robes, but the shot does drive her back several paces. However, she's not been knocked off her feet. Now, you know that you hit her dead on. This sort of shot would have knocked any lesser person off their feet, and sort of that would be them done. But impossibly, she's still standing, sort of smoke hissing off her. She throws off her sort of scorched robe. You can see the armor underneath it, her thinning sort of long hair, the unhealthy waxen white pallor of her skin, and her yellow eyes filled with hate, staring at you across the water and the ruins of the landing bay.
I'm just going to run.
Okay, not a problem. You guys run back inside. I assume you're going with him, T7.
I think
if he's taking off, yeah, I mean, I can't really do anything by myself. I needed him around, so if he's taking off, I have to follow behind him.
Okay, not a problem. Can you please make me an athletics roll, difficulty 3? Okay, not a problem. Your servos start to whir as you're sort of trying to follow Cade into the interior. However, although your wheels whir furiously, you find yourself pretty much staying in the same place. In fact, you're moving slowly backwards towards where this figure's standing, and as your dome rotates, you can see that whereas one hand is holding this hissing green lightsaber, the robotic hand is held out towards you in a gesture like this, and you hear her say, "That's an interesting trick you pulled, droid." And you find yourself being like slowly like pulled by a strange force towards this figure, one hand holding the lightsaber, the metallic hand held outstretched in your direction. Okay, Remo, you've seen all this going on.
headshot once again.
Go for it. Make your roll, and I'll just tell you the difficulty because she has adversary. So normally you'd be at difficulty 3, so it would actually be 3 red for the difficulty.
So it goes up now?
Normally you'd be at 3 purple, however, because she has the adversary 3 ability, it upgrades 3 of the dice, so it's upgraded them to 3 red.
Okay.
Okay, you fire off another shot. Again, she parries with her lightsaber. However, it does cause her to lower her hand, and T7, you actually find yourself free of this force that was pulling you backwards. We then come round to her action.
Picture myself with that motion that I'm kind of like reeling. It's just like I take off like in a drag race, and the smoke kind of like from my little. I didn't even realize what they were, but I guess they would be wills, and they're actually smoking, and I take off a lot faster than I was expecting.
Yeah, you actually zip past Cade into the door as you hear like this from behind you, and T7 just suddenly like jettisons past you through the door, Cade. Okay, Cade, what are you doing? You've made it through the door. You've seen T7 go like bolting past you like a streak of grease lightning.
Just watching him, just kind of look for a moment, and I'll take another shot at basically what I wanted to do was like not run away, but just run back so I have a better perch, so I have a better position, and I actually like to shoot. I'd like to shoot at her. No, you know what? No, just going for center of mass. Just shoot straight center of mass.
Okay, not a problem. I'm going to say effectively this is like a different encounter because you've entered a different area, so you won't have the additional purple. So normally you would be on 2 purple to hit her. Because of the adversary talent, you'll be on 2 red and 1 purple.
Roger that. I think that's right. Oh, almost forgot those X. Oh yeah, I accept all that. I turn around and I was aiming for her body, but almost at the last minute when listening kind of the echo of T7 just, you know, it's like what the, and I just kind of aim just up a little bit and right in, like just basically right in the skull, right in the noggin.
Okay, what's your damage?
So it'll be. So it'll be 18, and I guess whatever critical from that triumph.
Okay, roll me a D100.
And I'll also add 20 to that.
Mm-hmm.
26. Oh boy.
Okay, now I'll just read this out to you. Normally this would be a discouraging wound if a player took it, and that would basically mean that 1 light side destiny would get flipped over to being a dark side point. However, because you put it on an NPC, I'm going to flip one of them over to a light side point. As you catch her sort of knocking her down to 1 knee, it doesn't seem to cause her any massive amounts of discomfort, but she's thrown off her game for a little. You watch as she sort of raises her hand and clenches her fist, and from the corridor you're running through, you hear an ominous. From where you're watching, Remo, you see 2 tentacles burst out of the water. They wrap around the corridor that you've just seen T7 and Cade in, and they start squeezing, and you hear this of creaking metal as it slowly starts to be crushed by these 2 tentacles.
I have to kill this chick. So I will use if no one objects, I'm going to use the white point again and try to take another sniper shot.
Not a problem.
I was going to try to take out the 2 guys and take their rocket packs, but this is the most important thing at the moment. So
it's 3 red.
2 green. 3 red.
Okay, not a problem. So you've most definitely hit her. What is your damage?
Okay, damage on the rifle. That's not on that page. Okay. Blaster rifle. I don't see where it says damage.
Is it a standard blaster rifle?
Yeah, long range qualified stun setting.
Okay, let me just have a look. Blaster
damage 9. Damage 9.
Okay, not a
critical.
problem. Your
Yeah.
blaster shot hits her. She tries to bring her. She swings her lightsaber at it to attempt to parry this blow. However, most of the shot hits her. However, some of it is actually reflected back at you. You watch with horror as the blaster shot sort of zooms. Part of it zooms back towards you across the intervening space, causing you 6 wounds minus whatever your armor is. However, the rest of it impacts with her. You see her knocked off her feet with a splash as she sort of lands on her back.
Okay. And I take... How many points you said?
6 minus whatever your soak is.
Alright. I'm at 10 now, out of 13.
Okay, no problem. So you've taken a bit of damage, but you're still ticking. That's absolutely fine. Okay, meanwhile, Cade and T7, you're in this corridor. The walls of this corridor start to buckle and crumple inwards as it's slowly being crushed by these 2 tentacles. What do you guys do?
I will probably say to T7, T7, get out of here. Just go. I'll keep her occupied, but you gotta go.
If you're telling me that my the cylindric metal object
You're breaking up a bit, Gabe. Say again.
knows. Okay. I open up on the side, and the cylindric object will actually drop at Cade's feet, and kind of say, that should help you. And I'm actually going to take off to a further and then try to connect and try to find a way to unsabotage the floating devices that it has, or whatever it is.
Okay, not a problem. You zip out of the corridor. What was it you dropped at Cade's feet?
The basically, anybody who knows what it is, it's the thermal detonator that I had.
Not a problem. So, Cade, T7 drops this thermal detonator at your feet and zips out of the corridor. The walls around. Are you staying in here, Cade? The walls are being crushed slowly around you as this thing is just like squeezing it.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and, if I can get out of that corridor but still remain kind of like in a hidden spot that she can't see me but I can see her, then I'll try and like either go up, like go out of the corridor and like maybe to a higher perch, to a higher position in the ruined building, or
Okay,
whatever.
T7 and the Cade, you're both trying to sort of get out of this corridor. Can I ask you both to make me an athletics roll? The difficulty is 3. T7, you have a booster dice, since you've still got the momentum from whizzing in here earlier. And this is basically to see if you can get out before this thing crushes the corridor you're in. I should warn you, if you don't succeed, you will be looking at some serious damage. Okay, so neither of you succeeded. However, Cade, I'm going to say, since you've got a triumph, I'm going to say, as you're sort of quickly assessing the situation in the few brief seconds you have, you look out and you can see that T7 is almost out of the corridor. If you were to give him like a bit of a push, he'd be out, but that would mean you were still in the corridor. So basically what I'm saying is you can save yourself or you can push T7 out of the corridor. The choice is yours.
Seeing T7 just like almost out but getting squished, I kind of like run and do a sliding kick and just boot him right out of the corridor as I kind of stay in, but I kick him right out.
Okay, there is a dung as your sort of foot impacts with what's effectively T7's backside and sends him like spinning out of the corridor. As you sort of, your head revolving as you fly out to T7, you look back just in time to see Cade sort of like fall back into the corridor, and then there's this as it's crushed by the weight of these two sort of slimy, huge tentacles. Cade, you take 20 points of wound damage minus your soak.
Oh, I'm dead. I'm totally dead.
How many wounds are you on?
Well, currently I have 8 left, so minus my soak of 6. I mean, that would actually still be negative 14 wounds, which is more than the wounds that I started with when I wasn't hurt at all. So it's like I'm so dead. I'm deader than dead. As a matter of fact, you'd have to resuscitate me just to make me dead, without being dead.
Okay, from where you. So I'm gonna roll for. Can you roll me a D100, Cade?
Certainly.
Okay. Let me just check that. Okay. So effectively, since you're sort of unconscious, what you see happen, T7, as and obviously Remo from your perch, as T7 flies out of the corridor, these tentacles like crush and pull apart the corridor that you guys were in. You see one of the tentacles sort of dip into the ruins of it, pull out by his foot to this limp figure of Cade sort of hanging there like dead weight for a few moments. Then the tentacle snaps and he flies through the air, and sort of like many meters beyond you hear a as he hits the water.
Can I tell if he's dead?
You can tell that he's not conscious. You can see he's like floating like face down in the water. Chances are he's unconscious. He's lying face down in the water. He's not going to be alive for very long.
Okay, then, yeah, we're about to pull a Michael Bay move. So, can you bring up the picture of the building real quick?
Not a problem, of course I can. Let me just grab that for you. There we go. So basically where he has landed is sort of somewhere over here.
And I'm up here on the top floor. Is
Yeah.
this all sheer glass?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, then. Let me do this instead. Let me ask you this. In the hallway where these guys are still pounding at the door to get to me, is there by any chance any fire extinguishers or any... I know this is the high future, but any canisters to have compressed stuff inside?
Yes, there are several canisters of compressed fire retardant materials sort of in the corridor for safety precautions.
How many are they?
There's about 6 that you can see at the minute, sort of spaced variously along the corridors at intervals.
Great. I will grab 6 of them all together.
Not a problem.
Go in front of the door that is currently where they're still... Are they still banging at the door?
Yeah, you can actually see the door. They've started to prise it open a little bit, and slowly they're sort of jimmying it open. It's only open by about a couple of inches at the minute, though.
Okay, so this is what I would like to do. I would like to tie all the canisters together, suspend them in the air, head level, and then I will, as Splicer, on my command, once I set up in the corner with a vantage point to shoot and detonate the compressed thing to basically make it a compressed bomb and head first into these guys' faces.
So you're gonna like throw this thing through and then shoot it? Is that correct?
I was gonna have it in there above the ceiling where the door is, where they're trying to pry it open.
Okay, yeah, not a problem. You suspended at sort of head height. You can see the door slowly being sort of prized open. You see one of this armored figures is attempting to like squeeze through the gap in the door.
When he squeezed the gap through the door, I shoot it and try to and have it ignite.
Okay, make your ranged heavy attack roll. The difficulty is only 1 purple since it's a large stationary target.
All right. Let's see if this works. I am actually going. If does anyone mind if? Nah, I'm not going to use advantage dice. Light point. Let's see.
Okay, not a problem. So you've got a success, an advantage, and a triumph. This is pretty much going to go down how you want it to. So, Juve, feel free to narrate how this occurs. What happens?
Okay. So as he sticks his body through, as his other friend is holding it, I ignite it, and basically it explodes. His head gets blown off due to the concussion, and his other friend is knocked unconscious to the ground.
And that is what happens. There is a loud booming explosion that you will hear even though you're in a different part of the structure, T7. As the sort of smoke and the fire retardant chemicals clear, Remo, you can see this sort of headless corpse lying still wedged in the door. It falls out as the door continues to open, and beyond it is this figure sort of lying on his back, like still just alive, but like completely like taken out of it. He's not regaining consciousness anytime soon.
So I will walk over, shoot the other guy dead in the head, point blank range.
He reaches up a hand as you walk over to him, and you're like, poof! That's him dealt with.
And I take the rocket pack, put one on my back, grab the extra one, and fly over to save Sharpshooter.
Okay, no problems. Okay, can you please make me a mechanics roll, difficulty 3?
Mechanics roll. Okay.
Don't forget you can flip a light side point if you wish.
Okay, I'll do that. So that will give me, what, additional yellow?
That will change one of your green dice to a yellow dice.
Alright, so I will have 2 yellows and no green. Is that how that will work? Because I have 1 green and 1 yellow.
That's correct. So it's 2 yellows, 3 purples you'll be rolling.
Alright.
Grand, 2 successes. Okay, you've never really used one of these sort of jetpacks before, but you grab hold of the spare one, strap one onto your back, you point yourself in the general direction of where you can just about make out the body of Cade floating in the water. You quickly look around, find what you think's the ignition, hit it, and there's a... As you're lifted off your feet, you soar through the already broken glass of this room out into the open air, trailing smoke behind you, moving very quickly. You can see the water with this sort of body floating in it, still sort of moving closer towards you as you're zipping across the intervening space. From where you are, T7, you see Remo with his jetpack like across the intervening space, sort of arcing downwards towards where Cade's lying in the water.
You'll see me rocking back and forth, like excitement as it's happening, kind of forgetting what I should be doing because I'm watching this and Cade's being saved.
Okay, not a problem. So, Remo, as you're moving through the air, you're sort of within a couple of meters of where Cade's lying in the water, when suddenly like you come to a complete stop in the air. You see the jetpack's still going, there's flames and smoke still licking out behind you, and as you look down you can see the woman who's climbed to her feet, still standing on the back of this monstrous sea beast. She's got a lightsaber now sort of on her hip. She's holding both her hands up towards you in the air. You can see beads of sweat pouring down her pale, sort of unhealthy looking face. You can see her yellow eyes looking at you. She's holding her hands out like that, seemingly like holding you like motionless in the air. You still move your arms and legs, etc., but she's just like stopped your jetpack from moving.
Can I turn around?
Yeah, you can sort of shift position. That's not a problem.
I turn around, take aim with the sniper rifle, and shoot her in the face.
Okay, not a problem. It's difficulty of 2 red, 1 purple. Make your attack roll.
2 red, 2 1 purple.
Yeah.
And okay. Let me look at okay.
Okay, so you've not managed to hit her. However, if you wish, I'm going to say you can spend that boost that you've got, that advantage, to basically make it so that like Cade sort of slowly started to like regain consciousness, if you wish.
Yeah, I haven't regained consciousness, and I drop in the jetpack.
Okay, so Cade, you're sort of like lying in the water. You slowly wake up. You're feeling like you could pass out any moment. You're barely holding it together. But as you sort of roll over, spluttering water out of your mouth, you see Remo Williams wearing one of these jetpacks, sort of motionless in the air just above where you are. Looking across, you can see the woman holding her hands like that, holding him motionless. Her head ducks to one side as this blaster bolt sizzles past her. Then Remo just like throws this jetpack down, and it lands with a splash in the water next to you. What do you do, Cade?
I would say right now, I mean, I'm just all kinds of messed right up.
Do you have any stim packs remaining?
I have 1.
I might suggest now might be the ideal time to use it.
You sure? I don't know, man. I feel like I could hold it on for something just a little bit more important. So yeah, I guess
the last words of many a brave player character.
I don't need this health potion yet. Yeah, I'll take the 1 stim pack and just kind of very weakly, just jab it into me.
Okay, you regain 4 wounds because you've already used 1.
So now is that the negative? So what? I'm back up to like what, 2?
Well, you don't really go to negative. You just stop at 0, so you'll be at 4.
Okay.
So yeah, you still feel like a bolt from like a holdout blaster could like take you out at this point. But
yeah.
As the stims rush through you, at least like your hands stop shaking a bit. You can see this jetpack's landing in the water, and obviously it's quite heavy. It's slowly starting to sink.
I'll grab it, or at least I'll sink with it a bit and try and put it on.
Okay, make me a mechanics roll, difficulty 3, same as Remo made. Don't forget you've still got 1 destiny point remaining.
You know what? And sorry guys, I'll use it. Oh.
Okay, you have managed to get the jetpack on, but you've not managed to like find the controls to actually like activate it, so you are still like slowly sinking. However, as that's going on, there is another ominous creak from the facility, and it noticeably dips down into the water as it slowly begins to sink. Okay, T7, from where you are, you can see Remo being held motionless in the air by this woman who, it looks like it's quite a lot of exertion. She's like sweating profusely. Her sort of eyes her yellow eyes are bulging out of her head. You watch as you see Cade sort of thrashing about trying to chuck this thrown jetpack on, and he disappears with a few bubbles below the surface of the water.
How far would she be from me?
She's long range from you.
Oh. Alright. Then I'm gonna go like what I was supposed to snap out of what's going on. Like, wait, I'm supposed to go do something. So I'm gonna go and connect to the system.
Not a problem.
And what I'm going to be going for is trying to figure out the problem of the, I guess, the repulsor lift of this facility, and how basically kind of do a diagnostic of how it was, what's the word? I forgot even what the word, how it was messed up.
Okay,
put it that way.
you can see from examining the records, which you can do very quickly, you've got the access to the computers, that sort of a number of very sort of small localized explosives were sort of clamped onto the reporters and basically blew them up.
Great. Okay.
They were primed to go at the same time as the main explosive went off, destroying the tower.
So it was already there's nothing I can do. Okay. Where are the people going? I mean, are they going to some kind of transport, or?
Given that all of the ships were destroyed in the main explosion, aside from the freighter that was destroyed by the tentacle creature later, they're more just sort of like milling around in a panic. You can see some of the house security are desperately trying to get onto the long-range comms, which have been like taken down, trying to like contact some of the other bases and like call for relief vehicles or any shit like that. But they're like, oh, it's not working. It's not working. The main comms tower's down. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
That's what I'm going to work on for them, without their knowledge, is trying to get the comms up and running, running every bypass that I can through this whole system.
Okay, not a problem. So I'm going to ask you if you can make me a mechanics roll. It is difficulty 3, however one of those is red.
Okay. So 1, 1, 2. So it's going to be 1. And let's see, I know I have something that can help with this. My items. No, I can't. It only works for computer. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And
okay, not a problem. I will say that with that roll, you know that the comm system is still actually like functional. However, the sort of power cells that power it and enable it to like reach long range have been destroyed. You need an alternate source of power. Once you have that, you could hook it up and like get this shit back online.
About how much power do I need?
A lot of power. Just as an example, if you were to like hook yourself up and use like yourself as a power source, it would pretty much fry your circuits. It's a long-range communication device. It needs a lot of power. If you put all of your power into it, it might just do it, but you'd be fried.
I'm going to revert power from. I don't want to use that system because I'm not supposed to allow to use it. I'm going to try to use revert power from a different part of the ship, kind of like maybe like taking out luxury items or luxury power and put it into the power for them to stabilize.
Okay, not a problem. You do that. So what we're going to do now, gentlemen, is we are going to do our tide change for the evening. For those of you who aren't aware, who's watching now, what a tide change is I ask each of the players to suggest like a plot twist or a way the plot can develop. I then post them as a poll in the Tides of Change Facebook group. We have like a little 15-minute break, go and get refreshments, etc. We let people vote on it on the Tides of Change Facebook group. When we come back to the game, whichever option has got the most votes, that's what we go forward with. If more than one option get the same amount of votes, we combine them together and we go forward with those. It's just a way of getting the audience involved in the actual game. So what I'm going to say, T7, is you've managed to restore power to it. However, you've not really had a chance to actually sort of aim the signal at anyone. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is to suggest who they managed to get in touch with the long-range comm signal and what their sort of response is, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I will start with Cade. Cade, who did they manage to get in touch with?
Actually, sorry, I'm trying to think about something, but could you get back to me?
Yeah, no problem. Okay, Gabe. If you've got a suggestion,
I know
go for it.
I have one, but I don't know if it will work in this game system
Well,
or with the setting. they managed to contact the Millennium Falcon. It comes down and shoots this giant squid all the heck and back and kills the Jedi chick or the Sith
I'm,
Lord.
I'm
I
probably
don't
not,
know if
not
that's
I'm not trying to use the Millennium Falcon, but you could certainly contact a rebel vessel
okay.
if that's what you want to go with.
Heavy, super heavy, uh, um, rebel ship to
Okay,
blow
so
up the squid.
rebel ship. Okay, no problems. Okay, Cade or T7, do you have any suggestions yet?
Go for it, Gabe.
I'm gonna throw this out there. Hope I'm not taking Cade's, but his contact was contacted right away, and some convoy was called in for action to go double check to see what's going on. And of course, they're coming into this conflict, and they received that information since they were connected with the facility.
Okay, so you're suggesting that it's his contact who actually receives the communication. Is that correct?
Yes, because of their system in the ship was already can connect to their system.
Okay, not a problem. So Cade's contact. Okay, Cade, it's yourself left.
The communication is found out by someone who is in close cahoots with Tyber Zann. Tyber Zann, feeling that the mission is not going up to snuff and angry about still having to owe members of the rebellion, decides to send a ship to assist in getting the three of us out safely.
Okay, not a problem. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a sort of 10-minute break. I will put this on the Tides of Change group, and so everyone feel free to go and grab some refreshments. We will then come back and we will continue on with the session. So I will see you all in 10 minutes, guys. Okay, so for anyone who's watching, just to explain, we are currently carrying out a tide change. As I said before, that is just a mechanic, an optional mechanic used by the Tides of Change gaming community. And basically, I asked the players to suggest a plot twist or how the plot might continue. We then create that as a poll in the Tides of Change community Facebook page. People can vote on it, and whichever gets the most votes, we then press on with. So in this game, I asked the players to suggest who they might have been able to contact now that T7 has restored the long-range communications device. And the suggestions were that it could be Cade's Sullustan contact, it could be a rebel ship in the area, or it could be that Tyber Zann, unhappy with the way the mission is going, has sent a backup ship. Currently, the winning option is Cade's Sullustan contact. Squamb. So at the moment, I'm just waiting till I've got my players back, and then we will press on with the game.
I feel in the end I made the right choice.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel the session is going so far, Cade?
Oh man, I think it's going phenomenally well. I mean, even with like, I guess quote unquote, getting rendered unconscious, it was great. It's wonderful that I had a chance to be kind of the hero, if that makes sense. Like, like that. That's what I kind of like the most about it. Like you get that, you still have that heroic feeling. And I think that, a lot of people that play tabletop RPGs, they think, the heroics. They think, the medieval fantasy, the dragons and the the orcs and everything else. Like you can feel heroic, no matter if you have, a +2 longsword in your hand or a blaster rifle. You can still have that, and that's what I love about the Star Wars universe, is that it gives you that opportunity to have that epic fantasy heroism, but it just happens to be in space as opposed to in a kingdom or whatnot have you. So
well, that's it. I mean, one of the things I like about Star Wars, and well, all sci-fi to be honest, is as well there's a lot of variety you can have in the game. So I mean, just in this trilogy, we've had like you guys in space on a prison ship. Now you're like fighting some like Kraken-like beast on an ocean world. There's all manner of like different stuff you can have in a sci-fi game, particularly in something like Star Wars, where it's like space fantasy and it maybe doesn't have to be quite as sort of scientific. There's an awful lot you can do with it within the same game system.
Definitely, but I mean, I guess the big question we all have to ask is, but why is the rum gone? We're fighting a Kraken, we might as well.
Indeed, and I've put you up a small picture just next to my noggin there so you can see what this beast looks like, since you'll be seeing it very shortly, Kate, since you're underwater. Now, if you imagine a standard size sort of modern day like submarine, that would be about the size of one of the eyes on this creature. That's sort of the size we're talking about. It's huge.
What has science done?
Coincidentally, that is why you took so much damage from the tentacles, because effectively they're operating on a planetary damage scale.
Oh my God.
All I know is I have a retarded amount of respect for R2 now. He makes it look easy, being a non-combatant astromech. It is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to play.
Okay, so have we got everyone back? You there, Juve?
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool. Okay, in which case we will press on with the game. So before we come to who T7 manages to contact on the who they manage to contact on the long-range communication system that T7 has bolstered, Cade, wearing this heavy jetpack that you're struggling with, you sink below the sort of clear blue water. However, it's not as clear as it was a few moments ago. It's almost as though some sort of liquid or ink is sort of filling the water, making it hazy and difficult to see. But you look down, and many feet below you, you find yourself staring into the the glowing yellow eyes of this humongous sea beast. Its head itself, many times, well, probably as big as most of the spaceships you've had personal experience of, ringed by these huge barbed tentacles, these tiny pinpoints of yellow standing out amidst the murky, inky depths of the water as it appears to stare at you. Obviously, you're holding your breath, you're fiddling around with this jetpack. You see this thing, its tentacles sort of moving about in the water, and its yellow eyes appear to bore into you, almost into your very soul. What do you do, Cade?
Well, besides probably want to make the water slightly warmer around me, I'm probably like smashing the hell out of this button to try and get this jetpack to work. Like, you know, even like tapping it with my fist, like, come on, come on.
Okay. As you do that, you see one of these tentacles sort of slithering through the water towards you, growing larger as it closes, to the point where you can see the barbs sort of flickering on the inside of this tentacle. Can you make me a difficulty 3 mechanics roll?
I'd rather not, but okay.
Don't forget you have 1 destiny point.
I do, as a matter of fact. I hope you guys don't mind. I could really, really use it right now.
Go ahead. You're on the verge of death.
Yeah, there is that. Oh, man.
Okay, so before we cover what happens to Cade, we're going to jump across to T7. T7, you've boosted the long range. Sorry, go ahead, Juve. You want to say something?
So did he fail the roll? I can't. I'm not. What happened with the dice roll?
He has not succeeded in his role. So I'll come back to what exactly that means for him in a few moments. So T7, you're sort of stood near one of these panicked sort of house guard who's like frantically like pressing the comms button on the long range comm system. I know some of the display just like lights up in front of me. He's like, I don't believe it. Hello, this is Africa base to anyone within range. We're under attack. All of our ships are down. We don't know who it is. People dead, people dying. We need help. Repeat, Mayday, we need help. Also, you hear this voice coming through the comm system going, "This is Squam. We have your position. How many assailants are there?" We don't know. They just attacked us. They've blown up this place. They destroyed the generators. The facility's sinking. We're all dead, man. We need some help. We need help now. Calm down there. Calm down. My ship has monitored your situation. We're heading towards the planet. We should be there shortly. Hold out as best you can, man. Keep it together. Oh, thank you. Look, we've got so many people here. We need to get them off here as quickly as we can. The facility's lost. Obviously, you can hear all this going on, T7.
Alrighty. I'm not saying a word or anything. I'm just letting them have their conversation. And I will actually try to do my internal comm to Gates and let him know your friend's on your way, on his way.
Okay. As you're sort of saying that to like, Cade and Remo, just like doing it on the comms, Remo's still being sort of held in the air. You watch as this tentacle bursts out of the water. You can see it's wrapped around Cade. It's slowly like crushing him to death. He's sort of like being held up in the air out of the water by this thing. You can see he's trying to still sort of struggle with the jetpack, but he's obviously on his way out. It seems to only be the fact that he's got this jetpack on that's stopping it just going and crushing him. What do you do, Remo? You can see like blood coming out the corner of like Cade's mouth as he's slowly being like crushed to pieces by this tentacle. He's got about 5 seconds before he's like Cade paced. You're still being held in the air by this strange woman. Remo, what do you do?
I basically turn around and tell him, unhook the pack, drop to the water, and then I shoot the pack with the tentacle attached to it to explode the jet pack.
Okay. That is going to be a difficulty 2 roll, so 2 purple. However, you will have 1 black setback dice, so you're trying to shoot as you're falling.
So I got what now?
You've got whatever your sort of heavy weapons roll is, and 2 purple and 1 black setback dice.
Okay.
Okay, you shoot the tentacle. It's only a glancing blow. However, Cade, he's bought you enough time to get one more roll to try and get this jetpack activated. However, I'm going to spend a dark side point for the woman because she's keeping him like held motionless in the air. However, you've got one more roll to try and activate this jetpack. If you don't make this roll, it's lights out for Cade, I'm afraid. This thing's crushing you. It's only loosened its grip slightly due to the shot from Remo. Can you make this final roll?
And so this is still a difficulty 3, correct?
It is a difficulty 3. You do have a destiny point available because I effectively spent mine last round for the woman to like keep him in place.
All right. Last kick of the can. Unfortunate.
Okay. As you hit the water, Remo, and you snap off your shot, you see this tentacle loosen for a moment, then it tightens, sort of squeezing Cade. There is an explosion of red, and you see him sort of flop limply down in this tentacle's grasp, sort of blood running freely out of his mouth. You hear a long last like. Do you have any dramatic, like, last death words you wish to say, Cade, as the lights go out?
As I think I'm pretty, like, as I'm almost certain it's gonna work. I could just see like the jetpack, which must have been damaged, just go out. And my last, like, I just think for a moment, like, just my last thoughts are just hoping that T7 can get him and Remo off this rock, and that the people that live on Spira, the people that are on Spira right now, can just get out. And I guess as I look up, as the life kind of like gets crushed out of me,
yeah,
I just look up.
You look up, your vision's starting to go red around the edges. You know the end is like coming.
I look up and I begin to see the telltale light of what looks to be a ship or a meteorite, like coming in through the like upper atmosphere.
As you do so, you can still hear T7 Remo on the comlink, which is still functioning. And what are your last words as you sort of smile as you see this ship breaking through the atmosphere, heading rapidly towards the facility? But you know, at least for you, it's too late.
I just say, T7, Remo, it's been an honor. Yeah, and then I just as the creature's like kind of tentacle just kind of crushes me, I just kind of everything just goes black.
Okay, you guys, the last thing you hear from Cade is you say, T7, Remo, it's been a pleasure. Then you hear. As his comlink goes down. As you break the surface, Remo, sort of hearing this, you watch, as I say, as he falls limply, blood running out of the corner of his mouth, his eyes staring now sightlessly ahead of him. The tentacle whips back underwater, taking the body of Cade with it.
Is the jetpack on the surface or sinking down or what?
The jetpack that Cade was wearing is still on his back and has been taken down with him. The jetpack that you were wearing, you can see that as you sort of dropped out of it, the woman has lowered her hands and the jetpack has just like continued going on and sort of landed like probably about 50 meters beyond you. It's just like nosedived into the water.
Okay. So 50 meters, I presume that's pretty far away, right? Unretrievable at this point?
You could retrieve it. You'd come down to an athletics roll, and obviously, you know this thing's underwater. You've just seen it grab Cade. You'd be effectively trying to outswim a sea creature to get to it.
Okay. I pretty much dive underneath water, use athletic check, and try to use my sneak skill to get away to the other side without being noticed.
Okay, it's an athletics check. It is difficulty 3. However, you will get a boost dice because the water is full of ink, so that will aid your sort of getting there without being noticed.
I can't use my sneak roll?
You can't really sneak because you're having to swim, and this thing's like sensitive to vibrations in the water.
Okay. So that will be. I've been rolling. What's the difficulty?
The difficulty is 3 purple. Don't forget you will get a blue boost dice though as well.
So 3 purple, 1 blue, and my regular luck.
That's it.
It rolled it twice, so it's supposed to be the.
It's not a problem. You got a success on both of them. So, okay. Miraculously, as the tentacles erupt from this water around you, and the water is churned into a frenzy, Cade's blood mixing with the water, seeming to drive the thing almost insane. Although that does have the benefit that the woman who's like standing on top of it, so like the top of its head, loses her footing. You manage to reach this jetpack. You see that it appears to have like deactivated as it hit the water, and it's now sort of slowly sinking. But you grab hold of the strap on it.
I put it back on my back. Do I see the yellow of this thing's eyes?
As you look underwater, yep, you can pretty much see the picture sort of there as I've described
my next
it.
question is, will this jetpack work underwater?
No.
There goes that idea. All right, then I will basically put it on my back, come back up the surface where it can let me activate it. I fly out and land, look for a skimmer.
Okay, not a problem. You land back on the... You've already worked out how to use it, so you don't have to make a roll. You land back on the landing platform near the sort of knackered old skiff that you saw earlier. As you're sort of landing there, you see a large sort of ship moving down into the planet's atmosphere. The water around you is strafed with fire as this sort of like medium-sized passenger ship lands on the remaining functional sort of landing bay, literally just as you get to it as well. Obviously T-17 plugged into the scanners. You see this like large ship land on the landing bay. Immediately a number of people wearing sort of sub uniforms jump out. People have started, as soon as they heard there's going to be a ship, this panicked like mob of people have pretty much herded towards the landing platform. The Sub guards run out and they're like, quick, get on board, and they start herding people on board. You see a Solustan standing sort of just off the ramp. He's obviously walked down it. Remo, you've landed now as well. You can see this. As you're sort of looking across, you see the figure of Blat Squamb. He stands there and he's like, yes, quickly, everyone get on board. This place is going down. We've got to get out of here.
Is the woman still there, still?
You can see she's slowly picking herself to her feet, although given that this thing's thrashing about, she's having quite a lot of difficulty maintaining her footing.
I look at him like, before I go, do you all have any grenades by any chance?
He's like, grenades? No, this is my personal passenger vessel. We don't stock military hardware.
Bloody hell. How far am I from where the 2 guys I killed located at?
They're sort of up in the tower, so it'd take you like a good sort of 15 minutes to get up there.
Huh. All right, I grab him. I was gonna go try to see if they had any grenades on them and throw them on top of her and have them detonate.
Okay, no problem. So you start running up the tower. It'll take you a while to get there. T7, what are you doing?
I go to the side of the Solustan, since he identifies as the one that that my friend Cade was talking to.
As he sees you, he obviously like recognizes you. He arranges for you two to come in, and he's like, T7, where the hell is Cade? He sort of lowers his head as he understands the meaning of your beeps, and he lays a comforting hand on the top of your dome, and he's like, well, If you're sure there's not a lot we can do for him, get on board. We've got to get out of here. I've already contacted the authorities to send some help. Well, I can't be seen here with you, given your affiliation, but I can get you somewhere safe.
And okay, I'll kind of slide in and try to find myself a little hiding spot in there.
Okay, the facility carries on sort of slowly sinking below the waves. After a sort of hectic run through the corridor, sort of pushing your way past people, Remo, you've made it to the room up top where the two sort of dead Mandalorians are still lying in the room. The smashed open windows in front of you. Looking down, you can see the landing pad with the ship herding people on board. You can see the woman slowly trying to pick herself to her feet as these tentacles are thrashing about in the water, and blood and ink are mixing. You hear several explosions in the background as various parts of the station begin to combust as it sinks below the waves. What do you do, Remo?
Okay. I see if they have any grenades on them, and if they have a thing of grenades, I pick them up.
Okay, each of them has a belt of fragmentation grenades, and one of them has a single thermal detonator.
That is what I look for. I put them all together. I jet out of it, fly right directly over top of them, pull all the pins, drop it on her, and head directly to the ship.
Okay, not a problem. You drop all these grenades at her. She starts reaching her hands out and out again, hoping to halt you in midair. But as these grenades start to rain down around her, she lowers her hand, and you see her sort of look around as if she's going to duck. She reaches into the water next to her. You hear a strange sort of hissing wet sound, and then she turns round, lifting what appears to be a small object out of the water. She looks up towards you, and as she does, she raises up her hand, and you see the severed head of Cade Sen held in her hand. She's holding it by the hair. She holds it up to you, and you see a look of insanity and triumph on her face as she laughs and stares madly at you. Then there's this huge explosion, and the area is full of fire and bits of this sea creature raining up into the air. You don't have time to see exactly what's happened to her as you jet away to avoid the impact. You land quite heavily sort of on your shoulder on the landing bay, just as people are being hustled on board this ship.
I get up, I'm like, can't always save them all, and then I walk onto the ship.
Okay, you get onto the ship. The ship takes off. As you leave, T7 and Remo, looking behind you, you watch as the facility sinks below the waves. The ship quickly leaves the atmosphere of the planet into the blackness of space. We then cut to a number of weeks later. You've both separated and gone your separate ways. Remo, you are stood in the presence of Tyber Zann. As he stands there, he looks at you, his white hair hanging around his shoulders, and he says, "Your report, Remo Williams."
Save the robot. The other guy couldn't figure out how to use a jetpack and died. But I did kill the chick that blew him up. So I say your debt with him is pretty much clean since I killed off the adversary.
One of his subordinates steps forward and says, he didn't follow your command, sir, and you see him reaching for his pouch, but Tyber Zann just holds a hand up, and he says, things didn't go exactly as I've planned. However, Mr. Williams is correct. My debt is now erased, and he clicks his fingers, at which point two large cases full of Imperial credits are slid across to you. He leans back in his chair, tenting his hands, and he says, "Consider your debts erased, Mr. Williams. I am satisfied with your performance."
Well, I do what I can. Nice doing business with you. Let me know if you need of my special skills in the future. I pick up the cases.
I'm sure I'll be contacting you at some point, Mr. Williams, but for now I suggest you enjoy the fruits of your labours.
Oh yes, I will.
Good day to you. As you leave with your credits, we then cut across to a different part of the galaxy where T7 is back with the rebel fleet. Commander Sheb Gergran is sort of briefing off to the left. He's just finished a briefing. As the briefing finishes, Inigo comes running out, and he's like, "Oh, T7, I'm glad to see you." And he actually, for once, he sounds quite sincere, not his normal sort of jovial self.
And you see an excitement even in myself kind of start jarring up, and I'll kind of squeak and squirrel and saying something about, I never want to take a vacation again.
Inigo looks at him and he says, "What happened, T7? We've had no news. Where's Cade?"
And kind of like, I can explain later, but it wasn't good.
He lowers his head, and in a sort of quiet voice he says, "Damn it, I know he'd get himself killed without me there to look after him." And for once you see like an actual look of like genuine emotion on Inigo's face. He's not the sort of jokey, like hotshot he normally is. He looks genuinely sorrowful. And then he says, "I better go and tell Commander Gergran." And he walks off. We cut to a day later on a strange jungle world. Erected in the center of a clearing is a large stone monument. Around it are the names of all of those who have given their lives in the service of the rebellion. You all stand there at the end of a long ceremony. Many people have tears in their eyes. Many people have been sort of commiserating with Inigo and yourself, T7. You watch as Sheb Gergran stands there and he says, "It is my solemn duty to say that another name will be added to our list today." And as he gestures, a young man with a sort of laser chisel walks up and he etches the name Tyber Zann at the bottom of the list. And he says, "This is a sad day for the rebellion, but we must never forget what many of us fight for, and if necessary, we give our lives for. We must look at this list of names and we must make sure that none of these people died in vain, and that we fight now to ensure that we create the galaxy that they would have wanted their children and our children to live in. Brave men and women all. Now, all of you, I know this is a difficult time, but I ask you to think what they would want you to do. They would want you to continue the fight, return to your ships, and give out the message that although one of us may have fallen today, the rebellion will rise anew. May the Force be with you all." And as he says that, we fade away on that scene. The end credit music begins to play, slightly solemnly, and the titles begin to roll up at the end of this Rebel Strike trilogy. And it just remains for me to say thank you very much to my three excellent players, Gabe, Mike, and Juve. Thank you very much for playing, guys. I'm going to ask each of you to do your little outro. Feel free to plug any YouTube channels, say you've been playing, etc. So we will start with Gabe.
Hey everybody, this is Gabe B, and I have played T701 for you for this Rebel Strike trilogy, and I will say that it has been very, very fun playing. Please, if you haven't already subscribed to Red Dice Diaries, please do so. He's got some great stuff and some other games that he's in.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we come to Juve.
Second time playing Star Wars. Very interesting. Hopefully we might try some more games out to get my footing in the system more. And other than that, thank everybody, especially Gabe, for helping me make the character.
Thank you very much. And last but by no means least, we turn to our fallen hero of the hour, Mike.
Thanks, everybody. This has been Mike. Up until like 5 minutes before this game ended, I was playing Tyber Zann. I had a great time, even though my character died, which was bittersweet, and I still think that it went well. You can't shoot a Kraken, especially a Star Wars Kraken, because them Star Wars Krakens though. But I did have a lot of fun, and hopefully, if you're not too filled with Star Wars after this game, you can come check out my channel, Mike the Piper, where both John and Gabe will be playing in my ongoing saga, which I will not, under any circumstances, take my death out on either one of them, especially not John. I mean, what?
Oh, because I didn't nearly die last session or anything.
Oh, yeah, there's that. Yeah, that's a good point. But needless to say, I thank you so much. John is an incredible DM, incredible player. All these guys are. It's been a blast, and I was so happy to say yes to doing this trilogy, or at least asking real nice, and for John saying yes. So I hope everyone had a great time as much as we did playing it, and we'll catch you guys in the next game.
Okay, thank you very much. So again, it just remains for me to say thank you to my wonderful players. As they've said, if you have any interest in Star Wars role-playing, especially the FFG system, but just in general, any interest in the Star Wars role-playing style, I suggest you head over to the Tides of Change Facebook community. There's a lot of great people in there running lots of different games, one-shots, linked trilogies of games, even the odd campaign or two going on there. And there's lots of general blibble and enthusing about Star Wars that goes on there as well. There'll be a link to that in this video that you can click on. I highly recommend you check that out. So for now, I'm going to just say again, thank you very much for people for watching and my players, and I'm going to end the broadcast here. May the Force be with you.